sort of start screen. But for everyone here, thank you. Welcome to the the episode of the Dead Boy Lounge.
We're welcome off to the episode.
Yeah, we're as you can see, we're messing around with some new things here tonight. This is a new format. It's a new program. So hopefully this is the last of the glitches and hiccups and things. So regardless, we're appreciative of everyone that's here. Thank you for sharing your time with us here tonight. It was a fantastic episode lined up for everybody. And as you can see, we are joined by a very special guest tonight. Would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Hello, my name is TheMoistenedLoin. I am a variety streamer and a paranormal and conspiracy podcaster. Super excited to be here, you guys. Thanks for having me on tonight. I appreciate it. It's my first
our pleasure
being a guest, so I appreciate it a lot.
No, it's promises to be a super fun time, and the subject that we have lined up for tonight is just wrought with opportunity for discussion. So let's just go ahead and dive into some news.
Okay, so this one comes from iHorror. Making his way behind the camera, Dave Franco makes his directorial debut with The Rental, a horror thriller and a major departure from Franco's usual comedic projects. Written by both Franco and Joe Swanberg, The Rental stars Allison Brie, Dan Stevens, Sheila Vand, and Jeremy Allen White. I've admired the IFC brand and their films for as long as I can remember, Franco told EW. I couldn't be more excited about partnering with them for my directorial debut. IFC dropped a teaser clip for the film on May 21st. The movie is set to open in theaters and VOD, which I really like VOD. July 24th. The film follows, I know, right? It's so close. The film follows two couples looking to celebrate their seed money from a new business venture as they embark on a weekend getaway to a seemingly perfect house they've booked online. But what begins as a festive weekend of four close friends turns into something far more sinister as secrets they've kept from each other are exposed and paranoia grows that they may not be alone.
Oh no!
Candor at the end. That was awesome.
Yeah. Source iHorror.com.
I'm intrigued.
Spice on it. There's a link there in the chat for anyone there would like to check out the teaser and more expanded version of the story. Feel free to do so. Moving on into our second story for the night. This one got a little long. I tried to keep it as condensed as I could because it is kind of a spicy topic. This one comes to us from Dread Central, which they have been punching out some amazing content lately. If you haven't checked their site out, please do so. Bangers all around. On May 25th, Ridley Scott's Alien turned 41 years old. Yay, happy birthday.
Oh, wow.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
With the anniversary, film veteran James Cameron expressed his opinion on a particular scene where Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, undresses down to an undershirt and panties. Cameron, who directed the film's sequel, followed up in 1986, felt the scene stepped over the line. Yeah. Dread Central has embedded a video by YouTubers Alien Theory, which I highly recommend you guys check it out. Very well done. They actually have a full list of content that is all worth a watch. In the video, he states, "For me, that stepped over the line. When I took over, I said, I think I can make a movie with a compelling female character who doesn't have to do that. So that's been my goal and my mission throughout." This statement comes after the video shows examples of Cameron's previous work, such as Terminator, Avatar, True Lies, and others where other female characters are scantily dressed, a la Jamie Lee Curtis during the striptease scene in True Lies. I mean, that's wow. T-shirt and panties is nothing compared to what Jamie Lee Curtis is wearing in that scene. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking. I mean, yeah.
I'm sweating, brother.
It's getting hot in here. Nice
no wonder Michael kept chasing. Am I right, boys?
Hey!
More horror references.
Cameron goes on to say, "I've never really operated under studio pressure. I'm sure a lot of filmmakers do feel pressure to sexualize characters, but I was able to be successful enough early enough that they kind of left me alone aesthetically. I follow my own muse for what I think is right. My films continue to be successful and they continue to not objectify women, so I think that speaks for itself. I made it my goal to make women interesting without making them sex objects, and I think I was pretty successful at doing that. Now, I feel like Mr. Cameron is being a little disingenuous here. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate the effort.
Right. Gotta appreciate the effort. I mean, Avatar is hardly a good example because they're all like blue-skinned aliens,
Yeah.
and like one of
Weird
them's a
tree
dude like in a
sex.
suit. Weird tree sex. Yeah, that's like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's more fantasy than anything, so you can't really like throw the objectifying thing in there. That's hardly part of the argument. But like the True Lies scene, it's dude, I
Bro.
mean,
That's like little kid popping a chub kind of movie. Like, oh, it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, so pants, let me watch it. And then you're just like, damn.
It's like, I mean, that was, you could have easily shown that on like Cinemax late at night. Okay. Samurai Jack says, isn't Ripley dead in canon? I believe so.
Here's the problem with being dead in a movie series that has cloning. You're never dead.
Ooh.
You
See
make a good
Alien
point.
3.
Yeah.
Right? They actually pulled the cloning card there, I think. And he goes on to say, Sarah, then die.
If you go to study blue Avatar people, then die. Spoilers.
Whoa. So yeah, if you want to check out the full story, head over to dreadcentral.com. Again, the Alien Theory video is definitely worth checking out. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend that channel. Moist and Loin, did you happen to dig up any news stories worth sharing?
I did. Let me tell you, I'm excited about this. I don't know if you guys are going to be excited, but I'm excited.
We're excited.
So,
I'm fucking pumped.
I'm pumped. So I went a little different, okay? Because I don't often play video games, but when I do, I like them to either be kind of scary or very calming. There's like no in between. So I looked up some horror games that are coming out, and I found one that is by Quarter Circle Games. I found this on like 3 different websites. Okay, these aren't, I'm not as good as you guys when it comes to investigating. So I just got these from these websites. I literally got it from the Steam website itself because this is a PC game, but it will be coming out on PlayStation and Xbox. And then I got it from these 2 other websites, vulgarnight.com and gamatsu.com. It kind of just explained the game, but basically Quarter Circle Games is coming out with a new game in late 2020. They haven't announced a date, probably because they're pushing everything back, but it's called Once Upon a Time in Roswell. And I don't know if you guys know what Roswell is, but it's about conspiracies and aliens. So have you guys heard about Roswell?
Love me a good Roswell story.
I'm pretty well versed.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who was born in the town.
What?
Yeah, I have a buddy who was born in Roswell. Yeah.
Okay, well, I need him to get on my stream ASAP.
Yeah, let's make some connections here because I think that'd be good content for a conspiracy show for sure.
Yeah.
But for those of you who don't know, basically in 1947 there was this unidentified aircraft, which Air Force Base just said it was a weather balloon that crashed. But there's a bunch of conspiracies around it that actually this alien saucer and the government took it and they were doing experiments, and it's like the first really well-known documented case. So there's this game that Quarter Circle Games is releasing. It was first announced in 2018, originally called the Peterson case, because it has to do with finding this family who's been missing in Roswell in 1947 for a week. It's a first-person psychological horror game, which I love. And basically, you're just investigating, finding a family who's been missing for more than a week. And the goals of the game are to explore a deep story, investigate, and survive. So I just thought it was interesting because I love games and I love conspiracies. And I was like, wow, I just found the perfect game for me. Hopefully it doesn't suck, but super excited. And I hope you guys will check it out if and when it comes out.
I don't know. I'm not very well known for playing horror games.
Mm-hmm.
No, never.
I've never seen you play anything besides Apex. What are you talking about?
It's all chess.com. That's my content right there.
Dude's a sweaty Apex player.
I'm sweaty, actually. Holy shit.
I'm sweaty as well.
Yeah, I actually pushed back doing cleaning my living room till like the last 5 minutes before we're supposed to go live. So I have like a little bit of brow sweat going on here too. So yeah, cool. I'm actually pretty stoked for that. I do enjoy that more because this sounds like an independent game. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
It seems like there's more indie studios out there that are getting a lot more creative with the types of games that are coming out. You know, it's not so much hell bent on the arena first person shooter or the battle royale thing anymore. Like people are starting to kind of broaden their horizons and really bring in the culture into
You said
gaming.
the thing.
I said the thing.
It's a culture podcast.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great news all around. I think we had some pretty cool stories there for everyone to go check out. If we left out any links, please request or just say, hey, fuck Wad, you left something out. And we'll put it in there. Moving on into tonight's movie, which does kind of fit along within the conspiracy, going into the urban legend side of things, which is one reason why we wanted TheMoistenedLoin here with us, because as she said, that is her specialty. Would you like to tell everybody what movie we all watched?
We watched Candyman. 1992. The original.
Important to make that distinction. Yes, because from what I discovered in doing like notes and research and stuff, there's a 2020 Candyman that's either out or coming out, I believe.
September 2020.
September.
Jordan Peele.
That's my birth miss.
Hey, birth miss.
Birth miss.
Jordan Peele. Is he the guy that did Us?
Yes.
Together?
Sequentially? Didn't that one not do so well?
What?
I remember.
I thought it
was like
the other one.
Not very well received.
Ma. That's the one that like
not Ma. He did another movie. Was it Get Out? Was it Get Out?
It may have been Get Out.
What's the one with that's like not very subtle racism? Where it's literally just white people are like, we want your body. We want to be in your body.
That's Us, isn't it? There's two of them. What's the other one? There's another one. I'm gonna look it up.
Well, it's not
Us is the one that's like body switchers, isn't it?
Okay, so Get Out and Us. Yes.
Noise.
So anyway, yeah, new version of the movie coming out. We'll wait and see how that plays, and we'll may or may not touch back on that on a future episode. But regardless, tonight we're talking about the OG 1992 Candyman, which is a legendary film. I mean, this is something that is still talked about to this day, and you can even remove the movie element from it. I think the urban legend behind Candyman is still alive in various cultures, in various versions. I mean, there's like a boogeyman type of aspect to it or something. Like it spans cultures, it spans generations. It's a legendary story. Quick synopsis on the film. Skeptical graduate student Helen Lyle, played by Virginia Madsen, great actress, befriends Anne Marie McCoy, played by Vanessa Williams, also a great actress, while researching superstitions in a housing project on Chicago's near North Side. From Anne Marie, Helen learns about the Candyman, played by Tony Todd. Stellar performance. A knife-wielding figure. Wait a minute. They got that wrong. A hook-wielding figure of urban legend that some of her neighbors believe to be responsible for a recent murder. After a mysterious man matching the Candyman's description begins stalking her, Helen comes to fear that the legend may be all too real. And how real it gets. TheMoistenedLoin, would you like to start us off and give us your initial impressions on watching this movie?
So this was actually the first time I've seen it. You guys would be like, what? But I haven't seen it before. And I was pleasantly surprised at the outcome and the overall production. I did a stream where I actually talked about Candyman, and there are multiple urban legends. So I I don't want to spoil anything, but I liked it because, you know, it was more than I thought it was going to be, if that makes sense. They combine so many things. They combine so many urban legends. There's different aspects to the movie that when you kind of think about it a little bit deeper, you're like, okay, this is a lot different than the overall standing of what you would expect the movie to be. So I was pretty happy with it. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Well, that's cool. We actually got someone that has not seen the film before. And as
Yeah.
Third can attest to, it's kind of like a really cool dynamic that we sometimes get on the show because he is often introducing me to new films and showing me different parts of horror culture. And so I love it. I love getting first impressions, and they always go a long way to really giving an honest opinion of you can do this with movies, music, books, whatever. First impressions are always, I feel, kind of the most genuine because you really get like the raw experience, like the raw point of view of someone who's experiencing it for the first time. On the flip side of that, we have a little bit more of a veteran perspective. Third, what did you think of Candyman?
So this is actually my second time seeing Candyman. And I want to say I haven't seen it in years. So I'm actually still pretty fresh to this too. There's some weird tropes in the movie that I don't want to get into right now because we'll talk about it later. I am a big fan of Candyman though, because I feel like it hits a lot of barriers that horror movies of its time won't hit. Number one, having an African-American antagonist. That's like a big deal because no one else does that. There's no other horror movies out there with a black bad guy.
Right.
And like he's so good, dude. Oh my god! In one of my notes, I literally called him a pimp named Candyman. Like, he's so smooth, so butter. Oh man, I really like that the setting for this movie is literally a poor neighborhood and a gentrified neighborhood. Like it's very much about like class warfare as it is about a supernatural entity. Like we'll get into more of that though. Like I feel like the more I talk, the more I'm going to go into like later discussion points.
That's how
I don't want to be that guy. Hey Paul, what did you? I mean, crap! The Russians.
It's hardly a secret anymore, bro.
Hey, sick boy. Whose name I totally don't know. Oh man, what did you think of this movie?
So I, like you, am coming back into it after going years without seeing it. 1992. I think I was like 6, 7 at the time, so I was hardly the appropriate age to be watching this movie. But
I was unborn.
So I'm the old guy of the group. Okay, and that's awesome.
It's okay,
Cool.
people.
Yay. Anyway, so yeah, obviously an age where I shouldn't have been watching the movie, so I probably blocked out a lot of like traumatic memories because there's some pretty hardcore stuff going on in this film, not just physically but like mentally. I like this movie really plays with your emotions. They play with Grandpa's Sick Boy Samurai. I'd make a good grandpa, so I'll allow it. Yeah, this movie definitely goes into some very but it fucks with your head. It really does. Like there's elements of this movie where it really gets into your emotions. It plays around with some
cerebral
anxiety. It gets cerebral. My thesaurus. Thank you. Oh, okay. Yes.
Cerebral.
Now I can let go of that. Good
I like it.
Oh my gosh. Yes, very cerebral, very nightmare inducing if you allow it to be. Like actually after the movie ended, I looked over at my wife and was like, I gotta watch something a little more refreshing after this because holy shit. My mind just got like raked with a Brillo pad after watching that. Fun fact, the movie takes place in Chicago. The filming took place in Liverpool, England.
Interesting.
Wow.
Why they didn't or they weren't able to or something along those lines, However, it did not get filmed in Chicago. I don't understand, but they were able to pull it off really well and make it believable that that's where they were.
Yeah.
Social Snipes is following the channel. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Snipe.
And
Leela followed as well.
to our guest, would you like to give us your first note on the film?
By the way, handwritten.
I know. Well,
What?
I'm a nerd.
Legendary, right?
My first note, you're going to laugh at this. My first note is Professor is definitely cheating on main character. Because he didn't know her name yet. Didn't know what Helen's name was. So that my first thing, I knew it. The way that he was looking at her and she was looking at him, and Helen came in, she was like, "What are you doing? Who is this?" And he even says, "She's in love with me." And he
Fuck you, Stacy.
it's just funny because throughout the whole film, I knew what was going to happen at the end. I knew 100%. That is one thing I will say about the film. It is kind of predictable in some cases, but it's not a bad thing because then you kind of get excited when you're like, "I was right." Let me tell you.
I think it was not so subtle on purpose and I actually took it off my final copy, but that was my first note too.
Wow. Okay. Can I go through a couple notes so I can catch up with you guys? Holy shit.
Or you're gonna talk about the intro because I was gonna write something about the intro, but I didn't want to go because I was watching it on Discord and I wanted to pause it and go back, but I didn't want my viewers to be like, "What are you doing?" So I didn't write anything on that.
They're your viewers. Whatever. Fuck it.
Fuck
Let
the
them know.
viewers.
We're pausing it. You fucking peons.
That's how he talks to his Discord people too.
Yeah.
But chat always disrespects me. So
that's true.
It's the only time I can get them back.
You're not wrong.
Real quick. Let me go through a couple notes because the intro, I was just going, nah, I don't like it. Nah.
Whoa.
But okay. So my first note is imagine smoking in a high school. Dude, there's so much smoking in this movie.
Yeah.
It's 1992.
Yeah, it's a sign
different
of
time and place. Because I kind of made a note on the same thing. Mine read more along the lines of, remember when you could smoke in schools? Because it's in schools, it's in the hospitals, it's in an elevator. They're smoking in elevators. Like, it really is kind of a time capsule too.
Yeah. My second note is Billy deserves better / slutty girl trope. If you guys don't know, there are actually when you talk about movies with tropes, there are rules, and Scream actually meta talked about this. If you want to survive a horror movie, you can't have sex.
Exactly.
So, you know, her intention was to do it. The first girl. And like, it's hard to tell if she's real or not, but like, we didn't even talk about the intro.
Well, go ahead and talk on the intro real quick.
So the intro of the movie starts with Helen and I can't remember her partner, her thesis partner name. Can you?
I wrote it down. Bernadette. Yes.
Yeah,
Bernadette. Okay, cool. I didn't write that. I wrote Stacy's name though. Like, I'll never forget. Fuck Stacy, bitch. So, Bernadette and Helen are doing a couple interviews with some high schoolers talking about urban legends, which is actually, that's the first podcast I ever caught with you, MoistenedLoin, was the urban legend stuff. That's how we came to the Candyman stuff. And they're just very openly smoking, and like in the classroom setting, they're just like, whatever. Yeah.
You want some?
Yeah. Smoke them up, kid.
Smoke them if you got them.
Here, I'm a college girl. Smoke, look cool from me. Anyway, God bless. So they're interviewing kids, and the two kids that they're interviewing are simultaneously telling altered versions of the same story. and it's essentially Candyman. And they talk about how this girl was babysitting and she had a boyfriend named Billy, but Billy was too nice and she invited the bad boy over, and he came over and he had a leather jacket and he was smoking and drinking a beer and he had a motorcycle and he was, like
Billy.
So my second note is Billy deserves better. Fuck her.
You know, something I thought of though is that intro kind of reminded me of Scream in terms of like, the backstory. They were in the bathroom and whatever, and then he dies and she walks in. He's just like, or she dies and you see the blood. Sorry, I was thinking about the end, but yeah, the blood or whatever.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The blood pools.
I got confused. Well, I will say, I think my first note actually was going to be that was a lot of blood to just seep through the ceiling like that.
Okay.
I mean, it's a bathroom. Do they not have tile in their bathroom?
That's what I was saying. I was like,
that was some
how
weak ass
hard?
grout.
Yeah. Weird. But it kind of did remind me of Scream in terms of like, I guess more towards the ending, I guess. Spoilers. But yeah, that's kind of what I thought of. I was like, interesting.
Another fun fact on that scene is another appearance by one Ted Raimi, who appeared in our movie from last week too. So getting a little bit of a pattern here with recurring actors. For those of you that don't know, totally planned it. Yeah. Content aced.
We're planners here.
For those of you that don't know, Ted Raimi is the brother of legendary director Sam Raimi, possibly legendary for some wrong reasons, Spider-Man. But
Cough, it was a bad movie. Cough.
Yeah. But by and large, great filmmaker, imaginative, just, he's a person. We make mistakes, a little over the top. Yeah. But little fun tidbit there. Going into my first note is this is like an urban legend turducken, because when we enter into the classroom, they are covering urban legends, whereas this is a movie about an urban legend, so it kind of urban legend inception.
Yeah.
And then touching on what you'd already mentioned earlier about the cheating husband, obviously some friction is already there between the husband and wife. We later find out they are named Trevor and Helen, and yeah, I mean, from the get you can tell that their relationship is not all that steady, even if you remove the whole like subtle flirtation between Stacy and Trevor. When she first comes into the classroom and they meet, even the kiss is kind of awkward.
Yeah, I agree.
Their marriage is on the down.
It's on the rocks.
Yeah,
little
like
rocky,
spiraling down the rocks.
Right. Yeah.
Getting hit with boulders.
Jesus.
And other women.
Just getting smacked with Stacy's the whole way down.
In shambles. Yes, Samurai Jack. In shambles. Absolutely.
Yeah.
TheMoistenedLoin, please, your next note.
So I was kind of interested how they made the development of the thesis idea. I'm a grad student, so I also have to do a thesis. And so I thought it was just intriguing to see how they were to develop this film, because I know what the urban legend is. Obviously, it takes place in like I have it written down. Isn't it like 1890 or something? So forever ago.
Touch on that. Right.
And so I was like, well, how are they going to make this modern? I guess, like, how is this, going to be a developed film? Because he just comes through the mirror and blah blah blah. You're dead. So I was like, well, how are they going to make this intriguing? So I thought it was interesting about how they're doing this thesis about the urban legend, and I wrote down daily horrors of lives to a mythical figure. And it was interesting because the whole serial killer thing in the news, and how, these outsiders, aka the privileged people, probably were like, that's stupid. Like, urban legends are stupid. We don't believe that. There's a serial killer on the loose. And then all these people in, what was it? The Cabrini Green. I mean, they all totally believed it. I mean, they had that whole shrine for him and everything. And so I was just like intrigued by the fact that you have this serial killer idea, and then you also have the urban legend idea, and they kind of put it together, and that's why they're really doing the thesis. And also something interesting is that having to do with the African American main character is that, this is my studies coming abroad, is that oftentimes serial killers are white men. I mean, there's maybe a couple Black individuals in history who are serial killers. So I just thought it was like, well, how are they going to pull that off if this is a Black serial killer versus, you know, a white man running around? Because they would be looking for a white man if there was a serial killer. I'm telling you, 100%. I mean,
that's a fascinating point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? The park, what is the Washington shooter? Is that what it is?
The Hashling slasher?
No, yes. What'd you say?
The Washington sniper?
Yeah. So it was 2 Black males, and they completely were wrong on the investigation. They were saying it's a white man and he's blah, 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 blah. And so they were looking for this white man, and they were totally wrong. So that's what I was like, okay, like, are they gonna be like, is it gonna dive deeper into the serial killer thing, or are they just gonna strictly kind of stick with the urban legend, which is what they did? But that was my note. I was like, I'm interested to see how they play this out, because serial killers are literally always white men. I don't know why. It's weird, but yeah.
So we're just psychotic motherfuckers, man. But you do raise an interesting point. Yeah, I think statistically speaking, you're correct. The common occurrence does happen to more along the lines be white individuals that pull off these really insane crimes, a la Ted Bundy, BTK, Ed Gein. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, especially with the names that go on to become legendary, like the few that I just mentioned. Yeah, all white dudes, and some of them like privileged white dudes in a sense. I mean, I don't know how
Ted
many
Bundy,
of them.
100%.
Yeah, Bundy for sure.
Yeah.
Gacy, not so much. Gacy was kind of a disaster from the start, but like now we're just getting off subject.
Yeah.
Third, would you mind your next note, please?
Oh man, my next note. I'm not super. This is the actual nerd in me coming out. But dot matrix computer running DOS. Hell yeah, brother.
Right? Hey.
I was so happy when I saw that, like, 400 by 400 pixel. It wasn't like a, what the fuck are those monitors that are just green? It was a color monitor too. I was like, ooh, I would love to have that. I'm a nerd.
just for a collector's item, right? Because it's obviously not going to be functionable. Where's the D port on this thing? I can't hook it up to my graphics card.
I can't. Where's the USB, man? I'm not proud of that one, but I needed to say it. It had to be said.
Well, no, I noticed it too. Actually, my wife noticed it first. She had to point it out to me. And then it kind of reminded me of like I'm going to age myself so fucking bad. It reminded me of that. No one's going to know what I'm talking about, but now I've already started. It reminded me of the opening scene of Doogie Howser when he's like typing in his journal, and it's like the blue colored screen, the old like style monitor, and just hear.
I know Doogie Howser.
Okay.
What's up? Come at me. I'm old.
Yeah.
My next note went into, people always lie when they say, I don't believe this. Do you? Because they're almost trying to feel you out. Like, I don't want to be the coward in this situation. So I'm going to see how you feel first. And then I'm going to go based off of your emotions, which later on becomes like a total lie. I'm going to skip a few notes here because this one does fall in line with what I'm talking about. Bernadette has this sudden realization of fear over their own subject. Like, she's starting to kind of pick up on, we're going down a dark hole here that I'm not really sure I want to continue down. and she's kind of pressured into it. There's that scene when they're in the car and they're actually driving out to what was it, Cabrini Green, right? When they're driving out to Cabrini Green, and she's really pushing her, like, we got to do this thesis. This is the only way that we're going to stand apart from other people that have studied the subject. Alluding to the conversation that they had with what was the other professor's name? The English guy, I think it was Purcell. Was
I
his
didn't get
name?
that at all. I hated him.
Yeah.
He was a douche. He was a total
He
douche,
was.
but he was the guy that really outlined the original urban legend from 1890 and explained all that. But she's basically saying, if we're going to show up people like him, we have to go out here and we have to actually physically investigate the story. So it was interesting to see the backpedal, because like at first she's all gung-ho. She's like, we're doing this thesis. This is the jumpstart for my career. And then like halfway through, it's like, I don't know if I want to keep going through this.
Hey, so real quick, the Candyman urban legend in the movie is I believe set in 1850 because they talk about slaves. You got
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep going, man.
So I'm pretty sure it's set in 1850 because they talk about Candyman and his father being slaves.
Okay.
The father, like they're both slaves, but the father invented a way to mass produce leather shoes.
Yep.
So they became more privileged as slaves. So Candyman, when he showed a knack for art, was sent to better schools so that he could like pursue that talent. So just wanted to throw that out there.
I didn't pick up on that. Yeah, you're exactly right.
You know, something else that you probably didn't pick up, that I didn't pick up until I realized it when I was going back through my old notes for my previous stream. They never said the Candyman's name. They literally never said what his name was. They just said Candyman.
Like
Not
the
even
actual person.
Yeah.
That
I
is
might be
interesting.
wrong, but I don't
I
think
you're
they
right.
did.
At least
Even
in this
when-
movie.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I thought that was, I was
figure.
like,
I think the movie, the 2020 movie, is going to give him a name though.
Well, his real name's Daniel, I think. Or wait, it's something with a D.
Yeah, because even when Purcell is going over the air quotes original legend, he never actually names in the way he's telling it, he's then a child. He never mentions the name of the child he just even then refers to him as Candyman. So that's, I wonder why they made that choice. Why didn't they name him, and why? I don't know. We could probably
because they talk about it like as factual, because you know what happened. Like it's documented as having been happened in Cabrini Green. The mob, like, I mean, lynchings, mob attacks were like documented back then, and they were okay. So, yeah, I mean, they're not okay, but at the time they were okay.
Yeah, at the time that was just like we're bordering on some dangerous territory here. But back in the time that the original legend is set, it was a common occurrence.
Yeah.
Samurai Jack says, do you think that the Candyman represents some greater theme? Possible. Not completely out of the realm of possibility. What that greater theme is, hard for me to say.
I have like a whole thing.
Yeah. There's like subtleness to the themes throughout the movie, but I don't want to get to it quite yet.
Right. Okay. Well,
these are my notes.
Okay. Third, I think you're up for your note.
Okay, so when the camera turns to Helen on her dot matrix computer running DOS, she's greeted by one of the university's custodial people, like a cleaning lady, basically.
Yeah.
And she sees what she's talking about, and they tell her what is like a local story of Candyman having happened recently. So I have these. I have 2 notes. Killed with a hook from Gooch to Gullett, and 911 sucks in the projects.
Yes,
Bro, yeah.
that's a theme.
Yeah.
I will say.
An
Until
ongoing
it's a white woman.
until it's
But then in the end, he makes it. Well, I'm not. Okay, never mind. I won't get there. Don't remind me later. I'll forget.
You're starting your sentence off with the end. We're already getting too soon.
This is why I'm bad at these things, because I just jump everywhere. I'm like, well, this happens. I'm gonna write it down. I'm like, remind myself to talk about this in the end.
It's
Remember
easy to
this.
do on this show. Trust
Remember
me.
this. Someone in the chat. I'll be disappointed. if you don't.
Please remind me, chat. Please.
Remind me, please.
Interestingly enough, my next note almost directly follows yours. The janitors obviously know about plausible deniability, because once she's done explaining the air quote local legend or the local version of the story, she looks over at her coworker and is like, but I don't know anything about that.
Yep. I was like, well, like, are we gonna find out why? We never did, though.
Right.
So I want to interject real quick, because I come from small town, and like small town surrounded by smaller towns. And I know that women talking at a table usually goes to a lot of like conjecture and a lot of like gossip and stuff like that. So it actually has more to do with the relationship of the 2 cleaning ladies, because they know that they're in a conversation with each other, and they're diving into something that like might be that will require plausible deniability. So they're saying like, this is gossip. We talked about it, but I don't know nothing. Like I don't know about that. That's the same thing with bless your soul. But you didn't hear it from me. That kind of terminology.
Yeah. I agree.
I'm small town boy.
Yeah. I grew up in a big city. I grew up in Houston, Texas for 30 plus years. That kind of thing happens all the time. Something happens and someone else is like, I didn't see it. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Nah, I wasn't there. Like all the time. All the time. Master Blood coming in with a follow, becoming a sicko. Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate having you. Cannot freaking talk tonight. What's happening?
You are appreciated, baby.
You are appreciated. I
want you know. Oh, okay. We weren't going Tupac. My bad.
Hey, kudos for the Tupac though. Moisten Loin, your next note, please.
I feel like my notes are just all over the place. If I get too ahead,
don't worry. Mine are like a consciousness stream and a fever dream.
To say that is a common occurrence on this show would be a gross understatement. So go ahead.
What'd you say?
It is. Oh, thank you, Jack. Thank you so much.
Sam in the background says to mute me if I go too far. So you can mute me if you want. My next note. I thought this was weird. I think I went back into the beginning because I was just curious. So I don't know if this is, I can't remember if this is the next part, but the next part is that Helen and Bernadette are in the bathroom and they try out the Candyman thing, saying his name 5 times or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I wondered why the very first scene, they both say it 4 times and then Billy leaves and then she says it again and then he comes and kills her. Well, both of them say it and he doesn't come. So I was like, well, why didn't he show up at that point in time? Like, did he know like what was going to happen to Helen the whole time? That's what I was like, do you have to turn off the light? That was my next note. My next note was like, do you have to turn off the light for him to appear? Even after saying his name 5 times.
A little bit of a continuity error.
Plot twist, only women can make Candyman come.
Well,
That's going at the end of the YouTube video.
only white women,
Shit.
apparently.
Only white
Right.
women. Where are the white women at? That'll be a good YouTube clip right there. Just fucking
There you
throwing
go.
Blazing Saddles. Oh my god!
It's true though. White woman
Yeah,
beginning,
that's true.
white woman Helen.
Well, no, because the girl that they talk about, she was African American. So
Which girl?
the one from the apartment, like
Is
when
she
they go to the
The,
Cabrini Green.
Yeah, the actual murder that they're quote unquote
Oh,
investigating.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So off of that, third, what's your next note?
Why do I keep closing my phone? It actually has to do with so they're in Helen's apartment and they're talking about the urban legends and they're drinking wine and smoking again because you just don't go more than 2 minutes in the movie without smoking. And they make the discovery that Cabrini Green and Helen's apartment building were actually a part of the same development.
Mm-hmm.
And that the building that was supposed to go in Cabrini Green is actually the one that Helen lives in, and Cabrini Green is different. So they make the comment about her condominium, and she's like, "How much do you pay for this?" And Helen goes, "Ugh." And I was like, "No, really? How much does she fucking pay for that?" Because it's literally built to be like Cabrini Green, which is a shithole. I like. That's the kind of notes I take.
But that's like, yeah, that is kind of like an unanswered question. Like, okay, this was meant to be a housing project. This was meant to facilitate a lesser area of town. So how did it get turned into this high-priced condominium? How did the transition take place to where now she's supposedly paying an exuberant amount of money for this apartment or this condo or whatever?
They actually explain it. Well, they say it, and it's like kind of like an undertone thing. Like they didn't have something to border that part of town if they brought price like income-based housing over. The L train separates Cabrini Green from Helen's apartment complex on like the better side of town. So, and like if you know anything about Chicago, there literally is a difference just by one side of the tracks.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually where the phrase comes from is from downtown Chicago, like the other side of the tracks.
Wrong side of the tracks, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Makes sense to me. Going into my next note. Oh, this is actually kind of cool. And it actually comes from or touches on not an urban legend, but an actual event that took place in my old hometown. There's a scene in the movie where they're investigating the apartment that the murder took place. They go into Candyman's area and they find the little stash of candy. And Helen breaks open the candy bar and it has a razor blade in it. Mm-hmm. This is something that actually happened in Houston, Texas, Halloween 1974. I have a tab open for it.
We talked about that on her podcast.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna get into it.
Did you guys really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sick. Well, I'll touch on it just briefly. Houston, Texas, Halloween 1974. Ronald Clark O'Brien, nicknamed the Candyman or the man who killed Halloween, was an American man convicted of killing his 8-year-old son on Halloween 1974 with a potassium cyanide laced pixie stick that was ostensibly collected during a trick-or-treat outing. O'Brien poisoned his son in order to claim life insurance money to ease his own financial burdens, as he was $100,000 in debt. Again, 1974, that is a shit ton of money. O'Brien also distributed poisoned candy to his daughter and 3 other children in an attempt to cover up his crime. However, neither his daughter nor the other children ate the poisoned candy. He was convicted of capital murder in June of 1975 and sentenced to death, where he was executed by lethal injection in March of my birth year, 1984.
Yep.
Damn it, Ronald.
So, real life Candyman. And I thought it was kind of cool that I don't know if it was intentional or not, but there was like a reference to that in this movie.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, first off, clarification. O'Brien is a white man. Crazy man. Okay.
There it is.
Weird white man continues with the theme of tonight.
Fuck white people, am I right?
I have it written down right here. So the offering is saying sweets to the sweet. But my thing is that did they purposely combine these two urban legends, I guess, into one? Because why? This is what I was wondering. Why is the actual Candyman in 1890? Why is his name the Candyman? How does he have anything to do with candy? Okay, he got killed.
It's because he literally gets candied. He gets caramelized. Like he's left to bake in the sun covered in honey.
I just think that's weird, though. It makes sense. Don't get me wrong. I'm proud of you. But why is he not called like the Honeybee Man or like
0.3 gallons?
Yeah. What a callback. I just thought it was interesting because I was like, they're combining these two things. But I liked it because it makes sense that these individuals at Cabrini Green are making these offerings so that they don't kill them. Like, so that the Candyman doesn't kill them. Like, is that why they're making these offerings? Because they're scared of what happened to, what was it? Was her name Jeannie? Who was the woman that died?
Beth or Ruthie or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Ruthie. I was wondering that. I was like, why are they making these offerings to him?
That did, yeah. And then like, yeah, the whole sweets to the sweet thing was kind of a subtle.
Like they literally have a pagan like ritual though with him. I'm not sure if that's a correct term, by the way. So if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. But like, any kind of like earthborn deity, that's like pagan, right?
Yeah, and anytime that where there's like an offering, sometimes the word sacrifice is used, although that's used in a very different term nowadays. Ruthie, baby Ruth candy bar coincidence, I think.
Ruth. I like that.
Ruth. Good job, Samurai Jack. Great picking that up. I love it. I love snaps. It. Quick snaps. Quick maps.
Quick math.
Yeah. I also did right before that. I said Trevor scared the shit out of me when that was like the first jump when she's in the bed after they did the ritual and she's just laying there and it goes boom. I was like, okay, I was not expecting that to happen. I was
I watched this movie with my wife before bed and I was like, where's the husband? Are they married but don't live together?
Yep.
What kind of fucking progressive stuff is this?
For the 90s.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
God.
So yeah, when he jumped in like that, actually that's probably the only part where I was like I real jumped. In the bed doing the ritual. Was that what they're calling?
Oh my god. I can't speak. Just kick me off now. This is why people
Samurai Jack, we cannot do this show without you in the chat anymore. You're a fucking legend. Jesus.
Is this movie about how white people wanting to uplift a neighborhood is code for gentrification? I swear to God, I sent you my notes. Yeah, so
deeper meaning.
Yeah. I'm real quick, I'll just go over like my take of a deeper meaning for Candyman. I believe that like the whole Candyman story as being told in this movie is about gentrification and the African American community lashing out at their inability to afford these new housings and their disdain for being put on this side of the tracks, and that's where they stay. So like it's literally Candyman is an African American killer. He literally goes after women of privilege who don't believe in him.
Yep.
Like that's a huge theme whenever Candyman starts talking to Helen, and I'm sure that he talks to whatever her name is from the beginning of it.
Billy.
Yeah, the girl is gonna fuck Billy. Oh,
R.I.P.
yeah.
He's not dead, but you know.
R.I.P. in heaven. Well, he
Said
did die
focus.
though. Shortly after, I'm pretty sure they said he went crazy and then died shortly after.
See,
Hair went white.
Right. Yeah.
So like that, my take on a deeper meaning is that the whole Candyman lore in this movie is about the African American culture lashing out to what is obvious gentrification and like being put in their place. You know.
well, also the fact that the apartment thing, how these apartments are the same thing, but we don't know how much she's paying for it, but they're literally the same thing, and one's a literal shithole, and the other one is so nice. So it's like, obviously, there's some discrimination there in the first place. I caught that at the very beginning, like when with a newspaper, she was like, "Hey, look at that," and I was like, "Interesting." She's like, "That's what my apartment's supposed to be," or whatever the heck she said. I was like,
She literally shows the window too, like her medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
How she can pull it out and push out the other one, and she can
Yep.
see the other apartment. You're like, they still have that shitty design in your condominium.
Possibly paying upwards of like $1,000 a month for it too.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I mean,
Location.
I don't think historically, at least in terms of in more of a modern sense, I don't think Chicago has always had the most diverse way of looking at its population, if that's makes sense at all. And that's definitely highlighted in this film.
Yeah.
There's actually, I'm not sure if it's there is an apartment complex in Chicago, and I think it actually is called Cabrini Green, and it's famous for being Cabrini Green is a real place. I'm sorry, Cabrini Green is the name of it. Yeah, and it's a Chicago housing authority, so it's low income housing.
Okay.
And there was like a lot of controversy in the 80s before this movie came out, about like the amount of crime, the murder, stuff like that, and the low income families, just the fact that it was a design ghetto. There's like a lot of politics that go into it, and I'm not super big on like going into that. But Cabrini Green, which is what Caprini Green is based off of, big difference in name, I know. Like there's a huge precedence in that setting, so it kind of hits really hard.
Yeah. Interesting.
Lot going on in this movie, probably a lot more than I originally anticipated, or that I possibly even took for granted. But now that it's being pointed out, yeah, there's a lot more going on here than just scary stories. So very interesting.
Yeah.
My next note goes into more of a like a film critic kind of sense. The scene where Bernadette and Helen are interviewing the girl in the apartment, the one with the baby.
Mhm.
I forget the character's name now. Yeah, me neither. And I had written it down. I just didn't type it into my final notes for some reason. I thought her name was Ruthie, but I was like, oh no, that was the girl that got murdered. So now I'm lost on character name, but regardless, dead memes, what's going on? You can sense a very dramatic change in the tone of her voice when she starts recalling the murder. Like when she's first talking to them, she's very defensive at first, but then she's more like nonchalant. It's just her very natural tone of speak. And then as she starts recalling it, it almost feels like she's dropping character, but I think that she is so traumatized by what happened
Yeah.
that just recalling it horrifies her to her very core. And you can just almost sense the fear and the dread in her voice as she's telling the story. It's like amazing acting. Like whoever they found to play that part, I hope she went on to do more movies because that scene alone was a great example of their acting talent. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that. Maybe that's just me kind of.
I feel like I remember it, but I think I took it as because like when she first got there, she had her dog and she's like, "What are you guys doing in here?" And then she comes in and they're talking, they're kind of calming her down, and she says something about how like white folk normally come to this side of town to cause problems or something.
Mhm.
So then I feel like she gets more comfortable, and that's why she tells them the story. But I do agree that she kind of was like very traumatized from what happened. So I was
Right.
wondering, if she actually knew like the Candyman was there, and that's why she was like, they're not going to get my baby, or you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. I'm trying to think back, but I do agree with you.
There's
Those pretty-
there's like a weird thing about everyone knows that the Candyman, like the gangbanger, exists, but
Mhm.
everyone still
Yeah.
seems so much more supernaturally afraid of what's going on. Like there's a lot of like it's different fear. Like people
Mhm.
are outside because they know they belong there, so the gangbangers aren't going to bother them.
Yeah.
But they're eerie of that apartment and of people coming to investigate what happened.
Yeah, because they automatically assume them to be cops.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that they obviously look like they're not from there.
Yeah.
They're in these very nice coats, very nice like their clothes altogether are just very very clean. They're from the university, so like they already just stand out like a sore thumb. And immediately, like, and there's even like kind of a glimpse into the drug culture because you hear that guy shout out, "Hey, police are coming upstairs, everybody get out." He's the lookout guy. He's the lookout guy for the drug dealers that are in that apartment. So touching more onto what you were talking about the area and everything. So very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Cool scene. I loved that scene and just a great example of that particular actor's talent. I really hope they went on to do more projects because that was really cool to see. Moist and
So
Loin, you are
sweet.
up.
So my next note is how she's telling the story and how no one came to the 911 call, which we'll get into also later if someone reminds me. But, I don't know how to go about it without spoiling. If that makes sense.
I mean, the movie's been out for
I know, but I don't
almost 30 years.
But we have here someone who saw it for the first time. We're coming back into it with almost a fresh set of eyes. So, I mean, I feel like it's been long enough that anyone who has seen it, if they haven't seen it repetitively, there's going to be some areas here
Yeah.
where they either forgot about or they just overlooked altogether. So I think it's a safe bet that we avoid any spoilers for the time being.
Okay.
If anyone feels otherwise, we'll touch back on some stuff after we finish the actual episode and we'll just kind of banter for a little while.
Put an asterisk by that one.
Put a pin in it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just move on to how it's his little hideout. She goes back there and she's taking the pictures, and we're as the viewer is seeing more than she is when she steps through the hole of the mouth, and that's when she sees the candy. So I thought that was interesting. And then after that is when they go on to the woman finds them and she brings them back to her apartment
Right.
and tells them the story.
That was interesting. Like the mural does come back into play in a few different scenes throughout the film.
Yeah.
But it was an
Like
interesting
flashbacks.
Yeah, and I almost feel like that was its purpose in
Yeah.
terms of just storytelling, but as far as its purpose for the characters, like within the world of the film, it did seem kind of touching on what you talked about earlier about there being a shrine. Like it
Yeah.
almost seemed like they were revering him, and they were leaving these offerings in this particular area because they knew that's where all this awful stuff took place. That's where he spends a lot of his time, or whatever. They don't really go into too much detail about it, but it does seem like kind of like this, uh, for lack of a better word, like a holy area
Yeah.
revolving around Candyman.
Yeah.
It's a shrine for sure. But I do believe that the razor blade and the candy, I feel like that's just like an Easter egg, or like they're just paying homage to the notorious Candyman, you know?
Yeah.
Your next note, please, third.
Oh boy. I'm gonna go through a couple of them because we've kind of talked about this, but cool art. The mural of Candyman, like when she goes up to the hole, like to the hole in the wall.
Mhm.
Super cool. Oh my god. I was super into that.
Really good job on it.
And then I don't trust white people. Please come into my apartment and touch my baby.
That's a good point.
I've
Yeah.
got two others I'm going to get into. That way we can kind of get through more of the story. But dude, everyone knows about Candyman. Everybody knows except for Helen and Bernadette. Like everybody knows except for the two of them. So it's they're the only ones left in the dark about the whole thing. Oh god, I'm going to say it 5 times in a row. Shit.
You're not looking in the mirror. It's fine.
Well, there's a mirror behind
The
me.
mirror, bro. This is me.
This is our mirror.
Yeah, this is 20. This is the internet mirror, bro.
Internet mirror.
God damn it, dude. And then imagine manipulating a small child, regardless of the fact that he could die to gang violence.
God damn it. Yes.
Dude, I was like actually seething angry about this.
I made a note about that too.
Ew.
Like it's
Fuck you,
obvious
Helen.
manipulation. Like, right? And as much as you want to root for her, and as much as you like start to kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of get on her side through the whole thing, that's just one real glaring, like, wow, you're a real cunt for doing that. Because I mean, he couldn't be more than what, 6, 7, maybe.
Yeah, I would say
He's
6.
little.
He's a little fella.
I mean, MoistenedLoin, do you have kids?
No.
Okay, well, as a parent, that one really struck hard for me, and third, I'm sure for you too.
Yeah.
Because that's just such like why would you do that for a thesis? I mean, obviously something horrible has taken place here, and obviously this kid is very cognizant of every single moment of it. Should he be? Obviously not, but it just seems like a real oversight of responsibility in terms of human life, and I couldn't nope couldn't get around that.
Did we just see some smooching?
Yeah.
Ain't it?
He said, I'm going to bed. So I was like, okay. Also, that means, well, you better stop with the dolls thing. Saying there's a moving doll behind me, and now I'm sweating.
Oh, dude. Let's see here.
Yeah, I agree. The little boy, I was like, come on. And then I felt really bad for him when they were at the hospital, and he was like, I want to go home. Then you find out that he doesn't even have a home.
Dude, first off, tinfoil hats on, boys.
Here we go.
What if he's a ghost?
Stop.
What if he's like the keeper of the Candyman story? because he knows like all the lore so well. Yeah, he's the harvester. We're all into horror movies in this house, by the way. My wife is more than I am, actually. They are doing a Candyman remake, by the way. It comes out in September.
Yeah, actually, Windswept Feline. We were just talking about that earlier in the show. Yeah, 2020. They are definitely doing a remake, so be on the lookout.
Yeah. So, throughout the movie, this little boy is kind of like guiding the Candyman lore in a more correct way. Like he's talking less about rumor and myth, and he's giving like direct information.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who like never ends his story in it was my roommate's boyfriend's brother, like
Yeah.
he knows, like he got it straight from the source. So I kind of thought it would be cool if like he's the keeper of the lore, supernaturally.
The
Yeah.
Keymaster.
Well,
The Keymaster.
I like that though, because I feel like the Candyman's legacy is just to continue on with his story, if that makes sense. Like living on his legacy. So if that little boy actually was meant to be there, then that would be fulfilling his like legacy. Like, he's getting revenge on these people.
Yeah.
Privilege, basically.
He also could be the keeper of the ritual. Like,
yeah. Interesting.
A lot of
I like that.
possibilities there. I love the idea of that though.
Conspiracies.
Right. And that actually kind of leads into one of my later notes. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead a little bit, but then I can circle back as we continue. So after she manipulates him into showing her the area where another kid got mutilated by Candyman, you know what I'm talking about. It actually
poor little boy, dude.
Yeah. For one thing, did they ever, because I can't remember now, and I didn't actually make a notation on this. Did they ever actually come out and say if that kid died from his injuries?
I would have to imagine he did, because that took place in like
too.
the 60s, and he got his groin ripped out.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of coming back from that.
Right. Yeah. And so was it the Candyman or was it the Candyman poser?
Oh, Candyman lore. So Candyman monologues in part of the movie, and he literally says, I have to spill innocent blood.
Yes.
So if you remember the beginning of the movie, we talk about the beginning of the movie, we talk about an urban legend where she did the Candyman thing and she dies. He could be summoned at any point. And if someone isn't ready to die from him, like if they don't believe enough, he has to like see one of my later notes is literally, and this is partially my wife's note too. Candyman is like Freddy Krueger and Tinkerbell. You have to believe.
Yeah.
So like he has to make people believe in him. So that little boy, that could have been innocent blood that needed to be spilled for him. Yeah.
Right.
I agree. Makes sense.
See, now I took that originally when I was first watching it. I took that to be in more of like the modern context in terms of the events that surround Helen. But you do raise an interesting point. Yeah, because that could have happened at any given time. At any given time, someone could have started to doubt him. And then he has to, again, like you said, spill innocent blood to make his presence known again. So very interesting point. Very interesting point. I like that. MoistenedLoin,
Really
you're up
these days. Jesus Christ, Jack.
All right. Now I can get back to my previous note. So,
yeah.
When Ruthie is dying and the other woman is calling 911, no one comes because everyone's scared. Well, then Helen gets knocked out And I thought she was dead at first. I was like, oh, well, bye, Helen. It was nice to a lot of blood on the ground. I was like, wow, okay. Like, what's going to happen next? Well, she's had that huge, black eye or whatever. And she even says something in the hospital about how, like, something about a white woman, like, they won't come, when Ruthie died, but yet they'll come as soon as a white woman gets hit. So that was another kind of like racial inequality, deeper meaning kind of thing going on that I noticed. Because she even blatantly said it, like, a white woman has blah, blah, blah. I should have wrote it down, the exact thing, but I wrote down, it talks about racial inequality because they'll come straight to a white woman getting punched and doesn't die, but yet a woman who is dying, who's black, they won't come to because they're scared of where they live. So a little deeper.
Yeah. And I think it touches more on that too. I think just before Helen wakes up in the bathroom, the scene that you were talking about, just before that, when she gets smacked with a hook from the poser Candyman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The poser Candyman. I love it, bro.
That's the only way I could think to describe him. He's such a poser. Like, the hook isn't attached to his hand. He's like sitting there holding like a butcher hook, which is you would essentially find in any slaughterhouse.
Michael Vick over here. God damn it.
Dude, what the fuck?
Oh no.
That's my favorite comment. I'm sorry. Okay. So real quick, one of my notes for this section. No, don't take it off. Get it away, because this is gonna go in the video. one of my notes for this part of the video, this part of the movie, is the bonk sound effect. Because when he hits her, it literally goes bonk.
Oh.
I laughed so hard.
Oh my gosh.
There was a little bit of a ring to it, wasn't there?
Oh, like if you ever watched Dexter's Lab, there was a side cartoon with it called the Justice Pals.
Oh yeah.
And that was like these two characters they watched on TV called Puppet Pal Clem and Puppet Pal Mitch, and they would always they would do like very simple jokes like, "Hey, Puppet Pal Clem, yes, Puppet Pal Mitch, what did the banker say to the customer? I don't know. What?" Then he pull out a phone bat, bonk, and that was just like the recurring joke. And when I heard the bonk sound effect, that's immediately what I went to.
Oh my god.
I laughed a little bit too hard. Yeah, sorry. Action Hank, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, Brad, bonk. Got a little cartoony there. Thank you for pointing that out there.
Sorry.
Okay, where am I leaving off of here? Oh, okay. And then he appears. We finally get to the first appearance of Candyman.
Yep.
Seems like a hypnotic effect that he has over Helen, communicating telepathically. I mean, she is frozen, deer in headlights in the middle of a parking garage. Anyone else that has that's more like physically aware of the situation would get the fuck up out of there. But there is obviously some sort of psychokinetic hold that he has over her, really kind of exemplifying the supernatural part of what Candyman is in this particular film. And it goes on to say, Candyman, a dapper man? Because Home Dude's kind of well dressed.
Yeah. The shoes, though.
A pimp
The
named
alligator
Candyman.
shoes. Yeah, man. He's like looking good, but then he's got like this bloody stump with a hook jammed into it.
He's profiling.
The nail though that's in there, I was like, it was gross.
Excellent physical effects.
Yes, I agree. I was like, whoa. I was not expecting there to just be a nail jammed in there, with all bloody and stubby and weird.
Which that wound is like hundreds of years old and it's still bleeding.
If you keep picking at it, it's never gonna heal.
That's true. I mean, he must
Can you
pick
see it
at
with
it a lot.
like a claw hammer just trying to like drive the nails out? I'm just getting carried away now. Moisten Loin, please, your next note.
My next wait. Going back, I literally wrote down this escalated very quickly. And she got like smacked and
Right.
like she was like all happy and all this stuff and then when she got the those photos and she was going through them and she's all happy and she's like, my whole life is getting back together. And then Candyman shows up and he's like, be my victim. And she's like, who's talking to me? And I just thought it was really funny because I was like, haha, like, this is what you get. Legends. Yeah. But that was interesting, the be my victim. I was trying to figure that out because I didn't like at first I was like, is it because he's like attracted to her? Because like his whole story is that he got a slave owner's daughter pregnant. And so I'm like, well, is Helen like a reincarnation of this woman or something? That's like I was getting really deep into this and I was like, what is going on? Because he goes, be my victim. And I was like, what is going on? I was like, why? It'll make sense in the end, but that's my next note. I just have be my victim. And I was like, why?
Yeah, like off the jump, there seems to be a sense of obsession
Yeah.
from Candyman into Helen. Like just as soon as he appears, it's like I am zoning in on you and you alone, and anyone that interferes with me is going to feel basically his wrath. And throughout the film, they absolutely do.
Yep.
Great point. Great note. Yeah. Awesome observation. Third, you're up.
So
I love when he starts this way because you know it's going to be good.
It's actually funny because one of my notes was, dude, that was intense when Candyman walks up to her. Oh man. So I've got 3. And it was does everyone have a leather coat? Because the gangbanger Candyman, he's got that weird leather coat. And I mean, like, why does he have that if he doesn't know? Like, he has to have actually seen Candyman. Like, something's got to be engraved in his mind that that's what he decided to wear, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe there's something engraved in Candyman that he has to wear that to be a part of the urban legend.
Or it's really cold in Chicago.
Fucking okay, but members only jackets exist.
This is right around that time period too, so that's actually good.
And they've all got they've got those windbreaker like NFL jackets with the big pocket in the front. Dude, I'm dating myself so hard on that one.
The Everlast jackets.
Yes, they're so popular in the '90s. What's up? Where are all my '90s people at?
I have a neon green one.
My wife was like, "Do they all like the Dolphins?" And I was like, the only bit of NFL trivia is the early 90s Dolphins wore blue and purple. Because all the dudes at the bottom of the apartment had on just those, it looked like those windbreaker. Anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And then my note, a pimp called Candyman.
Right.
And then, dude, that was intense. Because, like, that scene where he's talking to Helen, literally light shines on her eyes to show that she is mesmerized.
Yeah. Her demeanor completely changes. Did you notice that?
Yeah, she's way less powerful.
She's like, who are you? Like, she it was weird. I was like, okay, is he controlling her right now? Is that what's happening? Because her whole demeanor, she's this confident individual. She's going into these places. She's like, I gotta do my thesis. And then she sees them. She's like, what? Like, weird.
Yeah, that's where I got the idea that he has like some sort of like a hypnotic ability, or just on her alone has this hypnotic hold on her as soon as he appears.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. There's a definite like a 180 in her demeanor,
yeah.
like you said, like upbeat, and then all of a sudden very lethargic, very just I don't know how else to describe that, but yeah, there's an obvious
Especially
change.
especially after she found, or I guess she received the pictures. Like, she literally was so happy,
Hmm.
and then it's just like she hears one thing and she's like mesmerized. It was interesting.
Which
I
this
have
isn't a
this.
note that I actually wrote down, but as an observation I just had. How cool was it to actually see people using slides again?
I said that to Sam. I was like, "Can you imagine using this?" Because that shows how young I am. Like, I was like, imagine having to get in your room, have a blank wall, gotta close the curtains. I liked it. I was like, this is nice.
As analog as you can get.
Analog is handwritten notes.
Yeah. Hey, don't hate. I hand wrote mine during the film. I typed them later. So
Jesus.
not hating. Not hating.
Listen,
Okay, wait. I do
come
have a
on here.
question though. So this might just be my inability to decipher things, but the fake Candyman, what exactly is his role? So do we think that he's actually working for the Candyman, or do we think he's like he's just, this pimp that has the name Candyman as like a source of power? Because I didn't know what was going on at that point. I was like, did the actual Candyman frame her? Because he knew. I was just so confused because he literally walks in there and it's just, I don't know.
He's
I
a
didn't
he's a gangbanger who adorns the persona of Candyman to like
like as a source of power.
yeah, like to
Okay.
assert dominance. Because like when people are being rational, they would say that Candyman is actually the gangbanger. But when they're being irrational or they're maybe drawn towards what is the pagan ritual, they probably know that he's not really the Candyman.
Yeah.
And I think that like when he gets arrested, they might revert like to more primal, not primal, more like I don't know what term I'm trying to think of, but like when the gangbanger leaves, they're left with only the deity that is
Mhm.
Candyman, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely felt like he was adopting the persona as a form of control over this area. Because if we think in terms of gang culture, gangs often operate on territories, and this could very well be his territory, his area where he does his business. Like this is
Yeah.
his town, like this is his, he owns this part. So he possibly adopted the Candyman persona to assume that control over everybody and to continue his quote unquote reign of power over this neighborhood. That's kind of where I took it.
I agree with what Jack's saying.
Anytime there is truth, wait, that's not it. Yeah, anytime there is truth or power in something, people will always try to imitate. Yeah, you're 100% correct on that. It might be a thing to question if the Candyman is a real person. Does it inspire faith or allow people to disbelieve? Great question.
So Candyman is so he died in the we'll call it a lynching, but it's actually like something super elaborate in that he was, killed by bees after being covered in honey. But he was then burnt and his ashes were spread across the area that is Caprini Green, the
Yes.
apartment complex that they live in. So anyone who lives there is tied to Candyman physically, as in a physical location. So, when you talk about it being like a congregation of people or a worship, don't what?
It was
Yeah,
in my stream.
fucking 0.3 gallons of honey. God damn it. They did the math.
Yep.
we asked the question, how much honey would it take to cover a full-grown man? And Samurai Jack, being the beast, the absolute unit of a legend, did the math and figured out that if you wanted to cover a 6-foot man in 2 millimeters of honey, it would take 0.3 gallons.
I'm not even going to attempt to try and figure out how you came
he
to that.
showed
but
his
good
work.
on you.
Yeah, he
He
showed,
showed his work.
It was
Math whiz over here too.
Yeah, Samurai Jack is what a unit.
The multi-talented Mr. Samurai Jack.
Anyone who lives outside of Caprini Green would not be connected to it, so they wouldn't have like the more spiritual aspect of it. They would just know that people talk about the Candyman, and the Candyman is dangerous. So it would be easy for a gangbanger to take that persona to essentially ward off outside gangs or opposing forces. So
I did like that aspect of the movie because, like, in the actual urban legend, I don't think his ashes, like, I don't think, he gets cremated. But I like how they tied that because that's how they tied it into the movie. Like, okay, this is a layer because his ashes are scattered here. So I like that as well because it just makes
Definitely
sense.
made for good storytelling, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's why they injected it in there. It's just like, how are we going to move this story forward?
Yeah.
We can't, include everything from the original lore because either that's not enough to facilitate an hour and a half to 2 hours. I forget how long the actual runtime of the movie is. So just great storytelling.
That's why I was impressed with the movie because I was like, how are they going to make a movie about one scenario? And they did it. I mean, they just added their own little twist to it, and I think it was awesome how they did it.
Absolutely. Samurai Jack says, still we give power to what we believe. Candyman needs people to be afraid. And I'm going to put a pin in that comment because that is actually one of my following notes. But as we move forward here, my next note involves the scene where after her initial meeting with Candyman, I believe is when this takes place, when she wakes up in the bathroom and just like covered in blood.
Yeah.
Never pick up a bloody weapon. It's just a bad time. Like if you like, I can't imagine what was going through Helen's head when she wakes up in a pool of blood. Obviously, I can't put myself in that space, having never experienced it before. That's very hard to empathize with. But she opens the door. I know I see your sad face there. She opens the door. There is the head of the dog laying on the ground.
Why?
More blood.
This is the comment I want to make earlier when your dog yelped because I was like, well, I was like, it's gonna get worse.
I hadn't even connected the two at that time,
I
so
wasn't gonna say anything, and I'm glad I did it.
now my heart's just breaking. Rip doggo. Yeah, Samurai Jack. But then she sees the butcher knife on the ground covered in blood and she picks it up. This is not like I okay, maybe I'm coming it from an area because I'm like not in this position that she's in. She's obviously very very anxious. Like there's a lot of anxiety going on, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. So she's more than likely not thinking straight. But my immediate thought goes, there's blood everywhere. There's a dog's head. There's a woman in the background screaming. At some point, she has to think that police are going to get involved, and now your fingerprints are all over this thing. Like, of course, they're going to pin you for what has just taken place.
Did she not see Helen in the bathroom?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, because she does that. She does act shocked when she sees her. She's like, "Where's my baby?"
Yeah, it just comes straight after her, like, "You bitch!"
Nothing about the dog. I don't even know if she said anything about the dog. But where's my baby? Dog head severed on the floor. I mean, it would. I mean, I would probably be concerned more about my baby, but you're gonna let that go.
I would have just beat her up like double as hard.
I thought that the baby was in the crib murdered. I thought all of his, parts.
I did too.
Yeah, that was my first thought.
Yeah, and I was like, that's what the innocent blood thing. Because I'm like, great, you just took the life of an innocent baby, but then no, he wasn't there.
Dude,
Yeah.
the dog was the innocent blood.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Why do you? At least all dogs go to heaven, so that's good.
Okay, here's my little thing. So the Candyman has a hook. Why is there a butcher's knife? Is it because he knows that she's going to be set up? Because here's my thing, and I'll talk about this in the next scene with Bernadette, is that this is just my forensic psychology degree coming out. Investigations, if there's not the same blood on the weapon as the, being, so the dog
Mhm.
at this point, then it wouldn't make any sense for her to be convicted if she's holding this butcher's knife. And I'm getting ahead of myself because I don't know. I don't remember if the butcher's knife already had blood on it or whatever. I just know she was covered in blood. So it made it look like she was already the culprit. But it's just weird. Like, so did Candyman come in here and just butcher this dog, or did he use his hook? Is my question. I'm getting a little too analytical with this, but I was like, okay, this is my degree.
It does raise an interesting question too, and I almost feel like it was Candyman's obsession with Helen that made him possibly try and set her up to isolate her.
Yes, I agree.
Could be, could not be, not really sure, but it did feel that way. And I'll refrain from going any further because then we jump ahead into some other areas.
Yeah.
But we'll just continue around the round table here.
Mhm.
I believe third, you are up.
Oh God. Okay, so this is where I put Candyman as like Freddy Krueger and Tinkerbell. But I'll go to my next note. So my next note is the thought of being charged with murder and everyone around you is not giving you the ability to express what's going on, or they are suppressing your autonomy. I don't know. That was just very like, and I'm jumping a little bit ahead. Sorry, I should say something. I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but so Helen gets arrested and she gets charged, and no one is really giving her any type of a voice to say what happened. They're just telling her, like, you are being charged with this. You are sick. What did you do with the baby? No one is talking about how she cut the fucking head off a dog. Oh my God, he sick son of a bitch. Monster. That dog would have loved you if he had a treat. She literally has like a lot of the power that she's had her whole life, you would assume.
Yes.
I mean, because she's very clearly upper class.
Mm-hmm.
Middle, upper class, whatever. Because she talks about how she pays a bunch for her condo. Her husband is a professor at a prestigious university that she is currently attending. She's working on a thesis. She's going to be published. Like, she comes from a position of, I hate saying this, a position of privilege.
Yeah.
And she is slowly having all of that stripped from her.
Yeah.
Going forward in the movie.
Yeah, she becomes more and more vulnerable as the film carries on. That's a great observation.
I think that has to kind of do with, Candyman himself, like what he went through, but also has to do with society as well. I mean, for the Black community, that's what they go through all the time. I mean, you saw what happened recently. I mean, they have no voice when it comes to this kind of stuff. So her being stripped of her rights, pretty much, or her privileges, kind of reflects as well to what these individuals go through all the time, and also what the Candyman went through. Because I mean, he was just blatantly, we'll say lynched, even though it was like Third said, a whole complex thing. Without he got someone pregnant. Like it's just I don't know. I think that that's a little bit more into the deeper meaning kind of thing that's going on.
Samurai Jack said it very well. Systematically stripped of power.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's a great point. And to address a few more areas of the chat that we may have missed, what if Candyman is just something she's hallucinating? The Candyman is just something in her head. She thinks Candyman is doing it, but really she's the one performing these actions, almost like a Fight Club kind of thing, where it's not really Jack, it's Tyler Durden, kind of, mixed personality.
Spoilers. Like one of my favorite movies of all time. Anyway.
So yeah, great questions, great points there being made in the chat. Thank you.
I feel like you could argue that because she does black out,
right?
That often happens. I mean, and I thought that the movie is kind of go through the trial process of like her pleading not guilty by reason of insanity and all that stuff. So I thought that was cool. But you could argue that because she blacked out, that maybe he is just a figure of her imagination, that she's actually going through, something else, which is what happened. I mean, she ends up in that area that she's in,
right?
That she's placed in. If that makes sense. Get into it.
I think that ties into the idea that she's slowly losing her autonomy.
Yeah.
Like she's having literally everything stripped away from her, slowly but surely. Well, not even slowly. Like at one point, it is like kind of like, it's kind of like her, like being carried out. So she's losing her privacy, but then she's literally strapped down. So like it's, bam, like she loses all autonomy at that point.
Well, it's ironic that when she gets like busted by the fake Candyman, that she's like in the news or whatever, and her research is gonna be so good now because all these people feel bad for her, and now she's in the news because murderer. Like, it's like, well, I mean,
that still would have made her thesis like crazy famous. Like they would have finished and people would have read it more because she killed someone.
Study her brain now. We're gonna see why she wanted to do this. Yeah.
And then she becomes the subject of study.
Yes.
Like a whole cycle thing kind of goes around there. Really cool. My next note goes into Candyman's appearance in The Slide. Another example of really cool special effects work for films that were coming out at this time. Again, this is before CGI. This is before a lot of green screens were being implemented for special effects. Like they actually had to make this stuff work on set in some way. So they had to set this up and then take the picture. And then for him to be kind of faded in the background, it was just such a cool shot. And that was something that just really resonated with me just as a movie fan. Like I just thought that was so cool.
I agree. I like that part as well.
And just because it's a short one, I feel like jump scares worked for this film because they were very few and far between. They weren't overly used. And when they were used, they were excellent. Going back earlier into the film with the tenant that they spoke with, we still can't recall this character's name. But the single mom just real quick opens the door and all of a sudden there's this Rottweiler coming at you.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Tasteful jump scares. Yes, Samurai Jack. Absolutely. That's a great way to describe it. Tasteful jump
literally
scares.
have multiple notes saying like, about how Trevor scared the shit out of me, and then I have another one that says jump scare really fucked me up. I mean, I'm sitting like really close to the screen because I'm watching on Discord. So you're just, you're sitting here trying to like figure out what's happening, then boom, something happens. You're like, oh my gosh, like I was not expecting that. So I agree. Very tasteful jump scares because there weren't too many, but it was just the right amount. I think it's like very tasteful. I agree.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
single mom character. Can't
What's her
remember
name? Kitty? It may have been.
Kitty! Yes, it was.
Okay,
No,
cool.
that was the.
No,
Wasn't
I
that
don't,
the?
I don't know.
I don't remember anyone.
You could say any number of names, and I would be like, sure. I have no idea.
I think that was a janitor's name. I don't know. Maybe it was the mom's name. I don't know.
It was one of the janitor's names. Yes. So we still don't know who this.
Bro, I've literally got the IMDb pulled up, and I couldn't even tell you.
Wow. Okay, I was about to try and look it up, but never mind. That seems like a fruitless effort. I wish I was able to watch this before tonight. I mean, it's still worth a watch. Like the
Absolutely.
experience alone. But just make sure you have something a little more cheerful lined up for afterwards, because you're going to need a refresher. So moving on to third.
Okay, so are we cool with moving on in the story?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So my next note is where were you, Trevor? I was 4 inches deep in Stacy. There is like a very obvious decline in the relationship. There's a decline in Helen's relationships. There's a decline in Helen's mental status, her like literally her civil status. Jesus, like everything is spiraling down for her. She'll actually reference later on in the movie, "You were all I had."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is really sad, but I think that her story arc requires her to lose everything before she could be the last girl or the hero of the story.
Right. That's a really good point. Yeah. And it's not a note, but it is kind of an observation based off of what you just said. How, like, the audacity of the two of them to sit there and act like they're a victim in this situation. Like, okay, I get being moderately scared because she's being accused of this horrific act and this horrible crime, but you've literally been doing this behind her back all along,
Oh yeah.
waiting for the opportunity to just kind of shove her aside and bring in the new young girl. I mean, they are completely changing the aesthetic of the apartment. The furniture is gone. There's new furniture in. The walls are different. Like they are basically trying to erase her existence from their life. And I just thought that was really fucking shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, her life is built on a very poor foundation, essentially. Like everything that she has is I can't remember, rocky foundations. I think that's the term. Like her whole life is built on rocky foundations. Everything is so easily crumbled.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You were
Absolutely.
gonna say something, Olivia. I'm so sorry I interrupted you.
No, I wasn't gonna say anything.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I could say that I feel like it kind of ties back to Candyman's story. Obviously, he lost everything as well. Like, he was stripped away of love, stripped away of his life, his art, and his passions,
Mhm.
all because of
Yeah.
something that, he loved someone, kind of like she loved her husband. So I think he did it. I think I don't want to get to the end, but I'm just gonna say it. I think that he had her as a victim from the beginning. I mean, he said, "Be my victim." Like he
Right.
wanted her to be his victim because she has privilege, and he wanted her to see everything that he went through, everything that he lost because of these stupid people back in the day. And I think he's just showing like because I'm just not gonna I'll get into it later, but
They were both people of privilege whose lives were built on rocky foundations.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everything was stripped away so easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent observation. Yeah, that's it's almost like another tie-in to almost like they're connected right from the jump. And this is like another example of like a shared connection that they have, albeit it spans generations, but there
Yeah.
does seem to be not just an obsession from him, but they are connected in a very cosmic sense. And I feel like that's an example of that for sure.
I agree.
I believe you're up with your note, Moisten Loin.
Okay, so going back a step, I wrote R.I.P. Bernadette. Poor Bernadette.
Yeah, poor Bernie.
He has to spill innocent blood.
Innocent blood.
Yeah. But here's my other thing. So this is where I kind of get back into my analytical thing. But it also has to do with racial inequality as well. So Helen is already in trouble with the abduction of the child and the dog. And so she's at her house because they can't necessarily charge her because they can't find a body. So she's at her apartment, a house, whatever. And Bernadette comes in there. She's obviously murdered by the Candyman. You can see that. And she's like in the corner, like in her bathroom, holding a knife, while Bernadette is all the way like in the living room. And they all come in and they immediately arrest her, even though the knife isn't even bloody. So I think that has to do with like, not even like, it could be due to racial inequality, which is what I'm assuming that they were trying to get at, but it's just in people in general who have previous convictions are just automatically assumed to be these horrible people, and they have no rights because they're already convicted of something.
To be
So,
fair, though, she was in the bathroom. She could have washed off the blood from the knife.
but then if you're doing proper investigations, you would have seen it in there. You know what I mean? Like, I get that it's a movie, but it's like,
Right.
that's just my,
Yeah.
investigative stuff coming out, because it's like they just automatically assumed it was her because she's already in trouble for the murder of someone else. So I'm assuming they're thinking that she's the serial killer in general, which is also another thing because a lot of women aren't serial killers either. So
She literally has a lowered God damn it. She's lower in society due to the fact that she's a suspect in a murder case.
yeah,
So I think you're absolutely right that it has to do with I literally just had a fucking stroke, bro. I don't take the camera off me. Go back to Olivia. God.
I'll say what Jack's saying. It's the classic case of role reversal.
Yeah. 100% that. And also an egregious oversight on their part. He cuts her in
Yeah,
the side of the neck. She's wounded. So are they thinking it's self-inflicted? Like she did this to herself
yeah.
to make it seem like she's a victim in this situation? Or, I mean, oh no, there is really no or here. I feel like that's exactly the case. They are completely over, like using just guilty of oversight. They assume, okay, she's obviously, or she's already been convicted, so obviously she has to have done this to herself to make herself seem innocent in this situation.
100% agree. 100%. I thought the same
Very
thing.
interesting. Yeah.
I feel like what you guys are talking about though is a lot of like later investigation, a lot of stuff that has to do with when detectives talk to each other, when cases are gone over by attorneys, and I can't think of the term for the law side of a courtroom. What the fuck?
Like the jury?
No, prosecutor.
Prosecutor.
Yeah, when a prosecutor and a lawyer cross-examine cases and stuff like that. Like what you're talking about probably could have and would have been brought up in court or in further investigations and litigation, stuff like that.
Yeah.
When the cops pull up, everything is very surface level. And we don't know the conversations that are had once she is locked away. We literally find out that there's a month's difference, or there's a month lost in Helen's memory.
Yeah.
So we don't know like what was going on after. So like if that's an issue of like you can't suspend disbelief, I totally get that. That's just where I would go to help with that. Like an initial arrest is all about surface level information until more investigation is done. And they probably would have seen the wound on her face, and there would have been the discussion of, is that self-inflicted? Is that a defense mark? Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I initially leapt to that because they physically move her body from it was either the bathroom or the kitchen to her bedroom. She wakes up in her bedroom bound in handcuffs.
Yep.
With an officer sitting to the side of the bed monitoring her. So I mean that's
Very
kind
poorly,
of what
might
made
I
me
add.
right. Like she's handcuffed and she's able to get away from her
Yeah.
out into the like this officer stumbles over the bed instead of just running around it to cut her off.
Yeah.
So nitpicking, but yeah, it did seem kind of funny. To address the chat here, Samurai Jack says no, she's being treated like someone who would be like the Candyman.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the corrupt judicial system. And it is a corrupt judicial system. And it's obviously heavily biased, especially in this part of the world. In this point in time, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of equal treatment going on in the early 90s, late 80s. So yeah, very accurate there. Let's see, where's my next one? Kind of scaling back a little bit, but not too much. I feel like Candyman directly targets Helen because she doubts him. Like she doesn't really start to quote unquote believe in him until she starts to become his focus. And I
Yeah.
feel like leading up to that, she's doubting his existence. She sees him as more of like a boogeyman type figure that's meant to, just scare little kids and, scary stories and stuff like that. It's not until he becomes a physical presence within her life that she really starts to believe in the Candyman as a entity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
I like your cow dog.
Your cow dog. Oh.
Yeah, she's my bovine.
That's great.
Got a big old head.
Let's see. Just real quick, since we brought up the Bernadette's death, since we're on this scene, and again, this is just me being a film nut. The effects again on her dead body, completely void of color. The internal, like all her guts and everything, like the gory side of stuff, it wasn't like overtly gory, but it was enough to know that like she got fucked up by Candyman. Like she got mangled by that hook. And they're real quick glimpses, but they're long enough glimpses that they still resonate like in the front of your mind.
Yeah.
Moving past this scene. So it's just like what they were able to do without current technology and still make it scary, still make it believable, still make it something that impacted you as a movie watcher was something that I took away from it, and that I appreciated so much, because they didn't rely on those type of effects throughout the entire film, and when they were used, kind of falling back on what Samurai Jack said earlier about it being tasteful jump scares, tasteful gore, if that makes any sense to anybody other.
I agree.
So
I mean, even
exquisite.
the dog scene, like,
yeah,
I mean, that looked real to me. Like, don't be sad. I mean, the effects were great. I mean, I 100% agree. Like, they didn't use, it wasn't like tacky. You know what I mean? It wasn't, oh, my guts are spilling out. It's like,
right.
It was good. I agree, especially for that time.
Awesome.
I just want to throw this out there that Bernadette's body is completely pale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot about when people see the Candyman, they turn pale.
Oh,
really?
That is a great point. Yes. No, he is exactly right. And when they're telling the story about Billy, they mentioned that
it's not Billy. Billy deserved better.
When he sees what happened, it turned his hair white. He went crazy and then died soon after. There's another mention of someone else who the when they're talking about the guy who
finds the kid. Yeah.
The guy who finds the kid, he comes back out completely void of color, like his hair has turned white. And I think even he later on after that event passed on. So I mean, there's a running theme here. Again, what am I trying? Like a boogeyman effect. You know,
Yeah.
like they see this thing and they can't believe what they're seeing, and it's so fucking horrifying that it shocks them so much to their core that they just get completely devoid of pigment. And to say that that can happen to someone just by seeing a thing is horrifying.
I agree. I can't wait to go
Love it.
back and rewatch it after all this.
Right?
There's stuff I miss, especially because I'm a first time watcher. And it's
Mhm.
like I need to go back and watch it like ASAP, so I can like go back
And I
through.
guarantee you, if you go back and watch it a third time, or even a fourth time, there's going to be other stuff that you pick up on.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I feel like that happens to me a lot when I go back and watch movies numerous times.
Yeah.
Moist and Loin, you are up.
So we kind of already talked about how she was in that psych ward for a month, and she goes to the psychiatrist and sees the footage of her from when she's initially admitted, and
Mhm.
she saw Candyman. This kind of goes back to what Samurai Jack was saying about like how it might be just like an illusion or whatever. I think that Candyman was making it seem like an illusion because he wanted her to think that she was going crazy, because she saw the footage and it was just her screaming at nothing. And then this is the thing that kind of gets me. So, he's like, he wants her to be crazy or whatever, and then he comes in and murders the psychiatrist. Well,
Oh yeah.
how is that footage gonna make any sense? She's just sitting there and the guy's just dying. And it's like at that point, it's like, well, he already has her, so like he can do whatever he wants at this point. He breaks open the window and she escapes. I mean, he helped her because he knew what was gonna happen. He wanted her to be his victim.
Yeah. I
That's a
love that
great
part.
point. Oh yeah, because all of a sudden he just starts spitting blood and, yeah.
And she's
I
just
just-
like,
I love that Candyman's right behind him, like,
Oh yeah.
can I just say,
With
I will say
absolute
this.
vigor.
the way that he grunts, like if you were watching with no sound or no visual and you heard him, I would not think he was murdering someone. I think I was like, don't get me wrong, but it was just weird. I don't even want to do it. It was like I was just like, oh.
He put some effort into it.
He was practicing.
Putting his
Or
back
some
into
stank on it.
He put his back into it. Okay. Third, you're up.
Okay, so wow, I skipped quite a bit into it. Can they not hear that baby crying? Well, I guess it's not actually super far in. So Helen escapes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much spoiler territory I'm actually going into. Helen escapes and she makes her way to Candyman. Candyman lets her know like where she needs to go. Samurai Jack, thanks for hanging out, man. We love you.
Love you, Samurai Jack.
See you later.
So Helen escapes. She knows where she needs to go. She outsmarts everyone.
Yeah.
Knocks out a nurse, even though she's clearly had like muscle atrophy. That's okay. Wait, no, that's more just okay. Suspend disbelief. She escapes and she makes her way back to Cabrini Green. Where she has like her final conflict with she has her final conflict with the Candyman. Or the beginning of her final conflict, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how to word it, but and it's actually really awesome. Like God, I don't want to spoil.
It's the climax.
Yeah, it's the climax, and it's truly amazing. Like you there's like elements of pagan worship and altar worship and of lore, and like you get a better idea of like how much of this is street myth and like how much of this is like actual congregational worship. Super cool ending. Like I love the way that this ties itself up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there is a coming full circle type of event that happens here as we approach the ending of the film. Like it all kind of comes back around on itself. I won't elaborate any more than that. I feel like the two of you kind of pick up on what I'm alluding to there. So as just yeah, it was really well done. My follow up to that would be fuck Trevor.
Bro, that was my note too. Fuck Trevor. Fuck Stacy.
In fact, I wrote it twice, but I felt like, just say it once and we all get what's going on.
Say it 5 times in the mirror. Turn the light off.
Fuck Trevor, fuck Trevor, fuck. Okay. Yeah, and not to spoil directly what's going on here and what ends up happening to Trevor, but it's always cool in a movie to see the asshole character get what's coming to them. And we'll just leave that at that.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll transition over to you, TheMoistenedLoin.
All right, going back one step though, I had to say it. I wrote down that the Candyman must be a great father figure to keep this baby for a month alive.
Okay.
Well,
that was a fantastic point.
Way to be the present black father in a 90s horror movie. Way to be the anti-trope. Holy shit.
Was he feeding him the candy? Or like, what was going on there?
Well, and to kind of build on what you were just saying there is a quick glimpse of that.
Yeah.
Because when they show him hovering over the baby, like you see his hook kind of come over the kid, and then he dips in his knuckle for the baby to suckle on to help soothe him.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of a paternal instinct there, if I'm not being too bold as to say. But yeah, I think you're onto something.
Thought it was
way to be a movie full of anti-tropes.
Yeah.
It's an African-American antagonist, I don't know, just full of anti-tropes, and if and when you watch it, you'll truly understand.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Was that your note?
Oh shit, I stole your thunder.
Oh, this is funny. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I thought it was hilarious. So when she knocks out the nurse in the psych hospital, you just casually see that one psych patient. He's like, "Am I actually seeing this? Is this happening?" I just thought it was funny.
I didn't pick up on that. No, that's hilarious.
I worked as a mental health technician in undergrad, and like the type of people you see, I mean, they don't know what's going on. So the fact that this guy is there and he's just like in his bed, he's like, "Am I actually seeing this, or is this like something going on?" I thought it was really funny. I was like, okay, that was pretty comical right there. I literally laughed out loud.
That would have been great if he had like he was just on the brink of like taking his meds for the night, and you just see him kind of like toss him over his shoulder, like, fuck this shit.
That would have been great. Yeah.
But that would have been unnecessarily injecting humor into a very dark moment of the film. So
yes, I agree.
Transition down to third trick. Your note, please.
Oh man. Oh, okay. So this is actually my wife's note, and it's my last note. There is a debate about, not a debate, there's like something to be had about the relationship between Helen and the Candyman. Enough so that my wife looked at me and said, "You know what? It's still a better relationship than Harley Quinn and the Joker."
Well, she's right in the sense that, I mean, obviously these are not healthy relationships in any way, shape, or form. But Joker is consistently trying to find a way to get rid of Harley, except for when he needs her.
Yeah.
Whereas Candyman is consistently obsessed with Helen. Like he wants to consume her and make her a part of him. And I feel like that's where the dynamic is really shifted, because the obsession between Candyman and Helen is a far departure between the disdain that Joker often shows for Harley Quinn.
I think it was more about those Facebook posts where stupid girls are like,
The memes.
I just want to find a guy who will look at me like a Joker and Harley Quinn. Like that fucking abusive trailer trash shit. We're
Yeah.
already living that. I swear to God.
Yeah, these are the people that only saw Suicide Squad.
That's true.
Yeah. I fully blame David Ayer for for twisting the perception of Joker and Harley's relationship. He doesn't love her that much. Sorry, he doesn't. Let's see. Moving into the psychological aspects of this film are not subtle. I feel like there's areas in this film where the director is directly trying to attack the movie watcher's mind and make you feel, not just make you think, but make you feel what these people are going through at any given moment. And I definitely felt it, especially in the scenes that involved the kids, in scenes that involved the dog, in scenes that there was just an absolute assault on your cerebral senses. And thank you for cluing me in that word, man. I'm going to use it a lot. It's our word of the day. So yeah, I truly appreciated that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Agreed.
And moving into, do you have any more to touch on, MoistenedLoin? I know Third said that was your last note.
Yeah.
I have in all caps her hair, or I guess lack of hair.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's jumping too far. That's my next note. I have in all caps. Said her hair at the end. LOL.
Come on, baby, light my fire.
Yeah. Wow. That was, again, great special effects. No CGI. That was probably so much latex and so much makeup and just
Yep.
a lot of hours in a makeup chair.
There's literally a person on fire. Like that's what's most impressive to me.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
Fire. Her hair at the end. Like also, like
Mhm.
before she was like balding, her hair was on fire.
Yeah. Oh, that was a
Imagine
powerful
anyone
scene,
who's
too.
watching this but doesn't remember the end, be like, "What the fuck? What are you talking about? I don't remember this at all."
Oh, yeah, it's gonna stick in my head for a little while. If you got anything else to touch on, please do so.
I guess I wrote this in terms of like, I don't know. I said, how does he technically die if he's immortal? Is he just passing on his legacy to Helen now? Is that's what's happening? Because like she basically is him now. Like, you know, at the end, Trevor says her name 5 times. And she appears with her bald head.
Your bald ass head.
Yo, bald ass head.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
I'm gonna shave it. I don't want it. So Candyman talks about how he exists in rumors and in whispers. And you know, going forward, the rumor, like the story's gonna change. The focus of the story is going to change. You know, because that was like their celebration or their tribute to Candyman, and you know, the mythos really changes when a white woman, spoiler, you know. So if you know, if she changes the mythos enough, if she changes the urban legend or really even like the worship that much, I think that's how Candyman could die.
Yeah.
Like kills the memory, so to speak.
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger style.
Yeah, right.
Did you guys see that mural though? Like
Mhm.
it had her face on it. So like, did he know from the beginning of time that this was gonna happen? Like that's why he wanted her to be his victim because she was on that wall. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
It was that little boy.
prophesized. Yeah.
He's the gatekeeper. He
The
went in
ghost
there
boy.
afterwards and he was like,
Or
Bob
is the
Ross his way to a
mural
new painting.
or is the mural also spiritually connected to the legend?
Yeah.
Has
Ghost
the
paint.
mural changed now? Yeah, see, ghost painting, a la Ghostbusters too.
It always goes back to Ghostbusters in this podcast. So we can't go an episode without mentioning Ghostbusters 2 specifically.
which is really weird. I can't explain it, but I'm embracing it. There's nothing I can do. So I've only got a couple more, so I'm gonna just go ahead and run through them real quick.
Spitfire.
Helen surrenders only after she has lost everything, and there is a sense of her kind of surrendering to him, not completely, but her reputation destroyed, relationships destroyed, overall livelihood destroyed. So I mean, what else does she have to lose? So I think after she's lost everything, she just finally gives in. But I feel like after she gives in, she kind of finds her out at the same time, and not necessarily very cognizant of it as
Yeah.
it's happening. But once she does become aware of it, we do see those later events transpire, and she really kind of takes her power back, like one last hurrah, one last fight for her life. And then my last note is the power of the legend lies within its memory. Similar to the skulls of medieval Scandinavia, a lot of those stories were never written down. The old, for lack of a better word, I feel like people will at least better understand what I'm talking about. The ancient Vikings did not have a literary tradition. Everything was spoken word. It was all passed down through
Yeah.
lore. So I feel like the power for these legends lie within their memory. So long as the stories continue to be told, they still retain their power. But once they become forgotten, that's it.
Yeah.
This was fun. Do you have any more to touch on before we
This is
before
my
we
last.
really? Yeah, go for
Hell yeah. Let's get it.
Said, that's what you get, cheater.
it.
You don't realize what you have till it's gone. I mean, he was
Oh,
freaking out. I mean, come help me make dinner. Helen.
yeah.
Yeah. And then boom.
Stacy was being a huge bitch. Like, hey, I know we just buried your wife, but come make salad. Fuck, man.
We just buried your dead ex-wife. Come on. Get over it.
And I
What are
feel
you, a
like we've already
fucking
kind of
widower?
we've already kind of teetered on spoiler territory, so I don't feel too bad on saying this. But another kind of full circle thing happens when what happens to Trevor happens, and then we see Stacy standing in the doorway with a knife. Does the
Oh.
cycle of blame continue?
That's hilarious. I
Right?
didn't think about that. Huh.
Question mark. Discuss.
The end. Question mark.
So with that, in the comments section below, wherever you happen to be watching or listening to this, what do you guys think happened to Stacy? Does the cycle of blame continue? Does the story end there? Let us know your thoughts.
Did she put a bra on? Can you still see her nipples?
Okay, so did they like just rub her down with ice cubes before they shot that scene? Because there was nothing left to the imagination.
Yeah, pretty much. They were out and about.
My wife was like,
radio.
She was
my
so
wife was like,
excited.
her nipples. It's so bad.
So there were still some horror tropes in this film.
Oh shit! Yep.
Dieter 1910. I'm late, but I'm here. Hey, better late than never. We're glad to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Dieter, we have a whole nother segment.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So still plenty of podcasts to enjoy. With that being said, let us go ahead and transition to our segment for the night. This is another recurring segment. We're going to be seeing a lot more of these moving forward. When good ideas go bad. I believe we touched on this in episode 4 or 3, one of the two.
It's hard telling nowadays.
Yeah, we're just moving down the line. So let's go ahead and give our guest the first spot. What did you pick for when good ideas go bad?
I picked Cabin in the Woods, the movie.
Really?
I already knew that.
I know. You did tell us that.
I know.
I
just wanna
love
make
that
sure-
movie so much, though.
I love that movie too, but the thing is that they could have done so much more with that movie. So I did some research. So for those of you who don't know, A Cabin in the Woods basically follows a group of college kids as they're going on a trip to not really an abandoned cabin, but in a forest. You know, what happens in the forest. And basically they fall victim to all of these like zombies and all this stuff, but they later find out that all these technicians are manipulating the events in this underground facility. So they're basically just in this like encased area, and they think that I don't even know what they think. I mean, all this shit's happening, but the thing that gets me is this underground facility. It's like this is what I said. It's kind of like a knockoff Hunger Games kind of thing. Like these people are able to control the atmosphere. They're able to control these things that are released. It's super cool. I love the idea. I just think that it ended super abruptly. Like there could have been more to the underground facility area. Like, because almost the whole movie focuses on the college students, and you don't really know what's going on until the very end when they find the underground facility, and there's all these creatures everywhere. I mean, there's so many creatures in this area that weren't released, and I don't know. It is the Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah,
Peter.
she's absolutely right.
Yes. But I did some research, and this is why I think that, it kind of ended abruptly, is that the directors wrote everything in 3 days.
Like it was a rush job?
I guess. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I love the movie, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it could have been developed a lot better in the terms of that underground facility. It's just super interesting, because I was like, Hunger Games. Like, that's what happens in the Hunger Games. These people are literally manipulating the atmosphere. They're manipulating all this stuff. And that's what this is, except it's just horror.
They've totally controlled the environment.
Yeah. It was kind of like a comedy horror movie, but still a great movie. I just think it could have been a bit more developed, especially when finding out that the directors made it in 3 days.
Yeah, that is an interesting bit of trivia. I have only seen the movie like once, and that was way long, like after it initially came out on DVD or something like that. So Third, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? Do you agree, disagree?
So it's disappointing that it's only one movie. It would be amazing if it was like a cinematic universe.
Yes.
Because there's like a ton of movies they could tie to it. There's literally a Xenobite. And because like they show this cube of monsters, and like some of them look like they're from The Fog, some of them look like they're from Hellraiser. Like there's like this ballerina that's just like a giant mouth for a face. It's so brutal.
Yeah.
There's a mermaid, a unicorn.
Everything.
Yeah, every type of monster you could imagine. I wish, like, why can't they expand on that universe? They literally have a Japanese horror ghost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm telling you. Like, it was so amazing with these, these creatures that they developed that they didn't even use. I mean, they used the most mediocre ones. It was like these zombies. I'm like, I want to see the ballerina girl. Like, go on. That was cool. Like, let me see her in action.
Dieter, are you confusing the movie for Cabin Fever?
That's a possibility.
It's a very similar setting, or for Evil Dead.
I will say that this movie is more like comical than like your typical horror movie, which is kind of like I like it. But they talk about like the 4 or the 5 kind of like typical people that die in movies. So you have the whore, the athlete, the scholar, the fool, and the virgin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So it's a super meta movie,
Yeah.
and those come along. I feel like a really good meta movie comes along like once a movie generation. Every 10 years you'll get like a really good meta movie, and I feel like Cabin in the Woods kind of takes that role, in that they literally take the characters in it and they make them tropes.
Yeah.
Like the archetype characters that you literally just said, the whore, the athlete, the scholar. Yeah. I just wish that cinematic universe existed. I just want to see that ballerina. I just want to see where she comes from. That's all.
I agree.
Good night, Windswept Feline. Thank you for joining us and hanging out. We always appreciate you coming through. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your week. Third, well, okay. Do we want to touch any more on this? Because, like, wow, that's a lot of information, and I need to go back and watch this movie.
Yeah, you can go back and watch it.
Yeah,
it's on multiple.
Super good movie, but just probably a poor execution. I feel like,
It had
that
like a
sounds accurate.
90% rating on like Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, which is actually pretty high because Candyman only had like a 72%.
Mhm.
See, that's why I don't like Rotten Tomatoes.
That's why I don't either.
I like the audience ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I appreciate that one. Go watch Cabin Fever too. Jesus. Okay. So
we're good to move on.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Give us your good idea gone bad.
The Nun.
Interesting. Okay, you've mentioned this movie before, but not in this aspect.
Okay, I love that cinematic universe they've created. There's actually a movie I'm about to watch very soon, which maybe we'll do it for the podcast. I don't know. I can't even remember what are the main movies now. I'm like tired and having a stroke, and I've worked 6 days in a row. Why can't I think of those movies? The Conjuring universe.
Okay.
One second. I'm gonna pull up all the movies from it because there's one that just came out recently that I haven't seen yet. The Curse of La Llorona, which
yes.
I'm gonna watch that very soon. All of the Conjuring movies are really good. The Conjuring 2, Annabelle Creation. I haven't seen Annabelle Comes Home, but I just imagine maybe the third one isn't as good, or my expectations aren't as high as they could be. Or my expectations are just low for that because it's the third in the series.
Yeah.
So maybe I won't disappoint myself. But dude, The Nun is so bad. It's so poorly executed. It doesn't make sense. Is this character related to the wife from The Conjuring, whose name I cannot remember? I shouldn't have tried to go into details while doing this. Anyway, the premise of the movies, they talk about in Annabelle Creation, they talk about a monastery, and they show a picture and they're like, well, who is this nun? And she's like, I don't remember her being there. And like, they go into what the nun demon is, and dude, it's just so bad. I don't even want to go into details. The jump scares are so poor. The detail work is, it's so unpolished. It's predictable. It's boring.
Can I just say that I just looked it up, and I know you said you don't like the Rotten Tomatoes, but it says it has a 26% rating.
It's deserved. It's so
Sounds
deserved.
like it.
That's
sounds like it.
horrible.
Like, I can watch a lot of bad horror movies and I can have a good time while doing it, but I had just was so bored watching The Nun. And jump scares are cheap. When they're tastefully done, they're excellent. Like we talked earlier with Candyman, there was like what 3, maybe 4 in an almost 2-hour
Maybe.
movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's very tasteful, well done. In The Nun, you're like having a seizure. Jump scares. God bless it.
It's too much.
I don't know. Just for a Conjuring movie, it's definitely the lowest quality that I've seen so far. Obviously, I have 2 movies left in the universe that I haven't seen, so we'll see after that. But I'm pretty sure that my rating system isn't going to change too much. Like, we'll see where La Llorona comes up. But just, dude, have you seen The Nun?
No.
I've seen it, but
Do you remember anything about it?
I watched it in a drive-through theater. So it
Cool.
wasn't like the best experience in general. So yeah, it just wasn't, I wasn't feeling it. I was just like, I'm done with this. This movie's trash. Like, yeah.
I can't tell you a single character's name.
Yeah.
I can tell you there's a big thing about the whole vow of silence, that after at nighttime, the nuns aren't supposed to talk, but the one nun's like, I haven't made my vow yet. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Watch it just to know that it's bad. That's the only thing I could think to say. Yeah. Watch it so that you have a better understanding of the Conjuring universe, and then forget about it when you want to remember how good the Conjuring universe is.
Yeah. They thought they did something, but it wasn't
bad.
Yeah.
It almost, like the way you describe it, it almost feels like they had set up this series, the cinematic universe, like you're talking about. They had set up this series of films to be something, and they tried to force this one in a little too hard.
Yep. Agreed.
Dude, the demon in Annabelle
that hasn't seen the movie yet.
Yeah.
The demon in Annabelle is so good. It picks up new traits. It learns as it goes. It messes with generations of people.
Yeah,
like it has to be creative in the way that it invites itself in. It's like Jesus and Dracula. You got to invite it in. Like, damn. Well, Jesus, you got to find in your heart. That's different. Shit.
Funny side note. The first time that my wife and I saw Annabelle, she was actually pregnant with our son. And there was that scene in the beginning where that crazy lady comes into the house.
Yeah.
And yeah, that we actually had to pause the movie. Yeah, we had to pause the movie and allow her to recover, because that was kind of powerful.
Intense.
Yeah, it was intense. Wow, yeah, great choice and very well elaborated. I feel like I just want to avoid that movie now.
So bad.
Okay, well, we'll round off to mine. Mine's not necessarily a horror movie. It kind of falls back more into the monster movie genre, and that was Godzilla 1998 with Matthew Broderick. I feel like a modern Godzilla movie is, I mean, as we've seen with I think it was 2016 when they did the reboot with what's the actor's name from Breaking Bad? Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston, thank you. Yeah, that was excellent. This one, I feel like they actually tried to humanize Godzilla in a way that was just so unnecessary. And it was they genderized it, they made it a mother, they gave it this mission where it's like, it's not just a monster, it's a monster that's trying to carry on its species. There's all this really awkward banter between Matt Broderick and I forget the actress's name that plays his girlfriend. Like their chemistry just wasn't there. I feel like the only saving grace from this movie was Hank Azaria. That's just because he's an awesome actor. He's the man of a million voices. So I mean, like I feel like anything he tries to do is just done really well. He couldn't save the movie, unfortunately. If you hadn't seen it, a giant reptilian monster surfaces, leaving destruction in its wake as it strides into New York City. To stop it, an earthworm scientist, his reporter ex-girlfriend, and other unlikely heroes team up to save their city. I watched this Godzilla ton as a kid and loved it. Dude, as a kid, all right, duel me. Go. Let's go. I haven't used this effect yet.
Get them Yu-Gi-Oh cards out. We're dueling.
I would gladly accept. I watched it as a kid too. As a kid, I enjoyed it. But when I went back and watched it, I just picked up on all these different things. And I love Matt Broderick. I do. Ferris Bueller is one of my all-time favorite movies. But this just wasn't it. I feel like the casting was off. The storytelling was just really cluttered. And oh, I love the chat. I love the chat. The worms. Yeah, I mean, and it's the explanations behind like the earthworm things, like there were directions where they were going that like it could have gone in like a really good direction. It could have been executed really well. I just feel like they tried to add too much to the monster itself. I feel like they tried to it wasn't necessary to try and give it this maternal aspect to it. I don't when I think of Godzilla, I don't think of a mom. I don't think of a parent in any type of way. I think of a gigantic monster that's hell-bent on destruction or just fighting other monsters.
Excuse me, Godzuki?
Excuse me?
Godzuki?
You're losing me.
It's Godzilla's kid.
Oh, well, obviously I'm not aware of that.
I feel like I've done nothing with my life other than watch movies.
Yeah, that one flew under my radar. Dieter says maybe the difference for me was that Godzilla was my first Godzilla. It could be. Yeah, and if that's the case, that's yeah. And if that's the case, that's perfectly understandable. I mean, I'm not hating on anyone that loves the movie or that enjoyed it in any way. I kind of picked it apart. I feel like if maybe the casting was different and if they reworked the script in certain areas, then it would have been fine. But like, I mean, and then it even comes down to where like they go from trying to get rid of the monster to trying to save it.
Yeah.
I started Godzilla out by watching the kaiju movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you don't know, kaiju movies are a genre of Japanese monster movie. It's basically, yeah, bro. I know. I hate me too.
Kill them all.
Good point.
Where's the environmentalist in you?
Yeah.
Wiping his finger off. A finger and butthole joke.
King 810. What are you doing?
Butthole finger. Where's the environmentalist in you? He pulled his finger out. He's not in me anymore.
Okay.
Are these highbrow butthole fingering jokes doing it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a song. Kill 'em all. It's an album too. Legendary album.
Oh man.
Metallica 1982.
Oh man.
So yeah, that's my good idea and gone bad. I like, again, good idea to I mean, Godzilla movies, there's always going to be a place and time for them. I just think this one kind of missed the mark. And that is our last segment for the night, ladies and gentlemen.
Woohoo!
We are reaching the end of this episode of the Dead Boy Lounge. Moist and Loin, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on here with us. You have been amazing as a guest. We got to do this again.
Thank you,
sometime.
Dieter.
Yes, 100%. If you guys want, I would love to do it again especially for the new Candyman movie. That would be really fun.
Bring us on your podcast.
Yeah.
Hey.
I always look for people. Let me know.
Yes, for guest.
Yes, for guest.
The podcast
Follow
equivalent
for
for follow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man.
I would love to have you guys on there. You guys are a hoot. I love the energy.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. I'm super stoked for getting this one into post and putting this one out there. So take this time right now to fill in everybody that's watching and listening on anything you got going on project wise. Where can people follow you? Where can we enjoy you live?
You
Plug
can
it all
find
right now.
me on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheMoistenedLoin. You can find me on Twitter, just Moistenedloin, no the in the beginning, but I'm sure you can still find me because who the hell has this name? Um, I don't really have any projects necessarily. Just continuing my conspiracy journey. If you guys have any conspiracies that you would like me to talk about and discuss, let me know. I have a whole list that I made, and I would love to have more, topics from viewers because I can't find obviously everything. So I think it'd be cool for my viewers to tell me what to do. But yeah, pretty much I'm boring, so that's pretty much it.
Oh, that's awesome. No, yeah, please go give Moisten Loin a follow on Twitch, Twitter, same handle.
It's just /Moistenedloin.
Okay. Yeah,
I couldn't
so
put the on it.
you couldn't.
Well, my Twitch is TheMoistenedLoin, and then my Twitter is just Moistenedloin because I couldn't put the in the Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. That's the distinction. All right, cool. Well, yeah, definitely go follow Moisten Loin and check out her live streams. Check out the Conspiracy Podcast. We will be having you back again as a guest because this was just a super fun time. Unfortunately, it is getting rather late, so we're going to go ahead and wrap things up, and we will say good night and thank you again for your time here tonight.
Thank you. It was really fun.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.
What the hell?
Oh, what?
I had noise coming from. Sorry.
FMG Kamikaze, I see you, brother. What's going on, man? Thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, we are starting to wrap up, but I'm always love seeing you in the chat, man. I love you, brother. Haunted headphones with third trick.
Jesus. Did you know that kaiju movies are actually coming into America now?
No, I did not.
I really love kaiju movies. Pacific Rim is a kaiju movie.
Oh, I love Pacific Rim. Yeah, and they directly named kaiju. So yeah, that makes sense. It's almost too obvious.
There's another one I can't think of the name of. They just did the sequel, and it's got John Goodman in it.
The sequel to Pacific Rim?
No, not Pacific Rim.
I was gonna say, I don't remember seeing John Goodman in that.
Oh my god. It's like a shaky cam found footage thing where a monster is rampaging New York.
Cloverfield
is a kaiju movie too.
Oh shoot, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that with a new appreciation for kaiju monsters.
Yeah. Just side note, I love kaiju movies so much.
I do love me a good monster movie, and knowing that there's a whole subgenre of this to go explore now, I'm going to dive headfirst into it. Loathed Cloverfield. Shots fired. Watch out.
Check out 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's not actually
that was good
sequel. It's I can't think what it's called when you do movies that are in the same universe, but they're not directly sequel or related. Anthology. It's an anthology series. Cloverfield is an anthology.
That one was super good. John Goodman absolutely creeped me out in that movie. And I would love to have seen him do more characters like that because he just did it so well. Dieter, this is actually an effect within this program that we're using, you can see the little overlay in the top right there is powered by StreamYard, and they have all these really cool features for doing streamed podcasts. Basically is what this thing's built for, and this is actually our first night using this thing. So if you guys enjoyed the look, if you guys enjoyed the flow of the show and how kind of this thing plays out, we may actually invest in the full version so we can start uploading our own custom artwork and actually start branding this thing. This is a test run, so again, if you guys dig it, let us know in the YouTube comments as well. Here in the chat, Dieter enjoys it, so we already got a positive vote going in this direction.
Just need to get rid of that.
We're gonna get rid of that. That comes with that comes with getting the full version, and yeah, get rid of the StreamYard in the corner. Again, it's locked behind a paywall, but it's starting to look like it's gonna be worth it. So we may have to invest in this thing.
What's up,
Yeah,
FMG Kamikaze?
FMG Kamikaze, that's my homeboy. And current manager or owner, dude, I'm sorry if I fucked that up, but manager / owner of Full Metal Gaming, and just an all-around amazing dude. If you guys don't know, Full Metal Gaming is the stream team that I'm a part of and that I produce content for, and we got amazing people involved. We got esports teams for Rocket League. I believe there's a COD tournament going on. Kamikaze, correct me if I'm wrong. Lots of really cool shit happening with FMG, so if you guys want to come give us a look, please do so. And inspired by Full Metal Jacket or Full Metal Alchemist? Yes. Actually, go back and watch episode 22 of the Sick Boy Lounge podcast, where I speak with former manager Denver Harden. He actually touches on the origin of the name a little bit and a little bit more back history on Full Metal Gaming. Great dudes, great people. We've been recruiting left and right, and yes, spoken like my best friend. I feel like that's just such a good way to answer like multifaceted questions sometimes. I don't know. Yeah, Zombie was founder of FMG. So whole backstory there, episode 22. Moving forward, third, would you like to announce next week's movie?
So we're doing Hush, right? We decided we were gonna move. Yeah.
Wait.
Oh.
No.
Shit,
We're not doing a movie next week.
Poop in my butt.
So editor, please cut that part out.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have an editor now.
Yeah, we are not going to be doing a movie next week. We're actually going to be leaning a little harder into the culture side of horror. We're actually bringing on writer, game developer. I forget what else this person's involved with. They used to write for Dread Central, who we pull a lot of our articles from, and have currently been involved in the release of the horror game collection, the Dread X collection. If you're following any streamers on Twitter, you may have seen some people mention this game being streamed, getting some reviews written about, some rave reviews actually. This is a collection of 10 different horror games that were all made within the span of a week. Some of them are more retro in style, very polygonal in the way the graphics look. Some of them are a little more modern. I mean, there is going to be a lot to talk about. I will actually be playing through the game or the games rather over the weekend and through the week, and we will be speaking with the developer, publisher, and former writer of the Dread Central and Dread X collection next week. I am so fucking stoked for this episode. I cannot even begin to describe.
Dieter, stay posted. Stay posted about that.
Okay, yeah.
We'll have news soon.
We'll have news soon.
Yes.
I'm here. Stand by. So I think that's gonna do it for tonight, man. What do you think?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. Yeah.
This was
I'm not
fun.
gonna duel you. We're friends, Dieter.
You gotta spend those pints, man. Thank you again, TheMoistenedLoin, for your time tonight. You were an amazing guest. Again, welcome back here anytime. It was super fun having you on. Third, tell everybody where they can follow you and where we can keep up with you.
Oh, I am Third X Trick at Third X Trick on everything. But check me out on Twitter and on the Twitch. I make stuff there mostly. There's a YouTube. It's weird. I don't want to talk about it.
And I, of course, am Sick Boy. You can follow me here on this channel that you're on, twitch.tv/sickboy21. On Twitter, FMG_sickboy. On Instagram, sickboy21. And YouTube, The Sick Boy Lounge. There is no custom link, so just type into the search bar The Sick Boy Lounge, and you will find my podcast as well as this podcast, and I don't know, pretty much anything else that I can come up with. That channel doesn't get used for much else than podcasting. Be sure to rate and review wherever you catch podcasts. It does go a very long way to help people find the show that have not already been listening to it, and it lets them know that this is something worth listening to. You can follow the show on Twitter at Dead Boy Lounge, as it will be spelled here in the chat, and will also be down in the show notes on YouTube and all the podcasters. Spotify, Apple, well, not Apple yet. I got to do that tonight. Spotify, Google Play, and a couple of others that escape my mind, but those are the two most popular. So more than likely you have Spotify already on your phone. Just look up Dead Boy Lounge, the way it's spelled, Hyaw, and give us a follow. Stay up to date on new episodes, all new guests, all new movies, all kinds of shit where you can find what we're up to. And stalk us for a little bit if you want. You're welcome, stalking. Yeah.
Stalking.
Have a great night, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, stay dead.
And wash your hands.
Wash your hands.